Echo Sentinel and Courier News, newspapers. What am I getting a echo?
I have no idea. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
What's going on?
Sounds like you're out.
And by filing a copy of the municipal clerk. That was our sci-fi version. Standard board procedures. Any hearing conducted by the board is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Meeting cutoff. Announcement is made that, as a matter of procedure, it is the intention of the zoning board of adjustment not to continue any matter past 10:30 p.m. in any regular special meeting of the board unless a motion is passed by the members then present to extend the meeting to a later specified cutoff time. Electronic devices. All in attendance are asked to mute cell phones or any electronic devices as to not interrupt the proceedings. Pledge of Allegiance. Brian, would you lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Alrighty. Now, roll call.
Absolutely. Mr. Aronio is excused tonight. Mr. Giannakis?
Here.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Here.
Mr. Hain?
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Here.
Mr. Lindeman?
Here.
Ms. Brennan is excused tonight. Vice Chairman Johnson?
Here.
Chairman Correct?
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Okay, now we have the minutes for the March 1st, 2022 meeting. Jerry was excused, and Tom Grokoff was also excused. So besides those two, did anyone else have the opportunity to look at, and do you have any comments or questions about the minutes? There isn't much to them, so. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Here's a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're done with that. So, now we have an application before us. Block 11401, Lot 13, Zone B-D, 1138 Valley Road. Application name, I don't see a number here. What's the number?
Oh, I didn't put it.
No, you didn't
that's
put
so
the
funny.
number in.
Hold on.
23Z.
20, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 2021-23Z. The application, Philip Mastromelias?
Mr. Mijares.
Okay,
Mahalis.
good. Yes, I'm not going to attempt that again. The applicant proposes to renovate the building and surrounding property to use the building as a takeout restaurant. All right, the applicant is here.
Yes.
Would you introduce yourself, counsel?
Hi, my name is Jerry Betzner, attorney, here on behalf of Phil Mastromelias.
Okay. How do you wish to proceed? You
Well-
want to make a opening statement?
Well, I thought I would give you the benefit of some background information about, we're going to call him Phil for obvious reasons, and the project. As was mentioned, this involves an application for a mostly takeout restaurant to be operated at 1138-1150 Valley Road. It is you might all recognize the building in the photograph. It's the old Mike's Music Shop's been defunct for several years.
Do we have those photos?
I do not know.
No, those we don't. So those are exhibits, right?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, let's mark that.
Mark the whole board A1.
Do you have a tab or something?
Yeah, you can just put it with
Well,
your
he's
pen.
an attorney,
You just
so I'm
write
not gonna spend
A1
money.
and the date. Okay, then mark that A2.
How many photos in total?
We can hold on a sec.
Is there 3 on each side? Oh, no, there's another. Okay, mark that A2.
All right, can we all get the descriptions when they're sworn in for testimony?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead.
So, the proprietor behind the project, Phil, seated to my left here, is proposing to operate this mostly takeout restaurant. And we're here tonight with not only Phil, but he has a team involving an engineer, Mr. Gary Sorkin, and a professional planner, Barbara Elon. And they're here to answer any questions in connection with variances that are necessary in connection with the property. I'd like to introduce Phil to you and have him tell you a little bit about his background, which we think is...
Before you do that, let's swear in everybody. Could you swear on our experts, please?
Yep. And both your engineer and planner?
Right.
All at the same time?
Yeah. Just,
Just raise your right hand. Testimony you're about to give this evening, do you swear to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Excellent.
okay, everybody's sworn in.
Okay, Phil, I'd like you to provide the board with a little bit of detail and information about your background.
First of all, I want to say hello to everybody and thank you for being here tonight on account of myself. My name is Philip Mastromihalis and I live in Bridgewater, New Jersey with my wife and my two daughters. Tara is 23 years old, my oldest daughter, and my younger daughter at the age of 21. I came from Greece, August 1975, and my wife came from Ireland, July of '86. We've been together ever since. We moved to New Jersey from New York City when the kids became of age to go to schools, simply because we didn't want to use the New York schooling system versus the New Jersey schooling system, as in public. We thought it was a lot better to be here. I've been working in the restaurant business since 1976. I was at the age of 16 and worked there in New York. The last restaurant that I worked in New York was the steakhouse of Ben Benson's. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I was there for about 16 years till the last day we closed down, which was June 17th, 2012. I decided to get a job in New Jersey just so I wouldn't have to make the trip into New York anymore because of the long trip. So one day I just happened to be around this area here because we used to live in the town of Warren, and I stopped by the diner to have a cup of coffee, and I asked for about a job here in the neighborhood.
Phil, when you say diner, referring to the Sterling House Diner?
The Sterling House Diner, yes.
Right here on Valley Road?
Right here on Valley
Okay, go
Road,
ahead.
yeah. So the guy took my number and he called me within about a week and says, okay, we have a job for you. And they gave me a position as a manager there. About a year and a half later, they made me into a general manager, and I ran the place till about March of 2019. Mr. Cho, the owner who was the owner of the business there, he passed away, and his daughter took over the business, and she just wanted to run the business herself. She thanked me for being there all these years, and that she wanted to continue doing the general manager's position. I had nothing to say to that, so I had to move on. But while I was there, I got to appreciate the town here. The people, which very exceptional families, as well as the area and the neighborhood. While there, also, I got to meet Mike, who was the ex-owner of Mike's Music Center. He used to come in and take his coffee out every day, and always used to have a good shot at the cash register where I used to work. He was a down-to-earth, nice guy. I sat here and always had something nice to say. When Mike passed away, I actually approached an Elks member because I was a member of the Elks, simply because being there for quite a while. And I approached David, who is here with us today, and I told him one day over a drink what was my dreams about Mike's shop. I wanted to do like a fast food Greek restaurant there. And we all agreed, and that's what actually brought us to this place that we're all here today.
Phil, let me ask you a few questions now. Based on what you just explained about your background, do you feel that that gave you experience and knowledge and understanding of the restaurant business in this area?
Well, yeah, I know how to run any restaurant.
In particular, your experience working at the Sterling House Diner right down the road?
Oh, sure.
And did you also create relationships with local food vendors, distributors, and other service providers to the restaurant business?
Well, being the general manager there for
Could I
this
ask you to
time,
pull that microphone closer to him? Because our system isn't that good.
being the general manager there for all this time, I do not have all the contacts of food vendors. I do have all the contacts as well as all the plumbers and all the handy people or all the group of people that you need in order to be running business, because it's not just the food vendors, there's a whole lot of things, and I do have my contacts, yes, thank you.
Okay, now, in terms of the business that you're proposing at 1138, the former location of Mike's Music Shop, what do you intend on calling that business?
It's gonna be the Gyro Valley, that's the name of the place.
Okay, and can you describe for us what it will consist of, how you anticipate running that business? What format?
Well, the format is we're gonna have to hire 2 cooks, which we already are in touch with a couple of cooks that they have me from past experiences as their manager, and they want to work with us, as well as 2 preppers. And I didn't mention a dishwasher because we're not gonna have a dishwasher in the place. It's gonna be a fast food place. All the utensils will be, thrown out at the end of each meal. We will have a 3-compartment sink approved by the health department, which is gonna take care of all our pots and pans that needs to be cleaned. So it's gonna be also a team between me, my wife, and my 2 daughters, who is gonna be an extra help for me to come in and give a helping hand, which you all need in order to get on.
What types of food will you have on offer there?
Well, it's gonna be a Greek restaurant. It's gonna be Greek food because Greek cuisine is very popular nowadays. I don't think any of you actually had a gyro you didn't like.
True.
Or maybe the nice Greek salad with a nice piece of salmon on top of it, or perhaps the spinach pie, and not to mention the stuffed grape leaves. I mean, not the ones that you get out of a can, I mean, the ones that you actually spend the time and roll every single one of them for all your guests.
So when you mentioned fast food a minute ago, you didn't mean the fast food that we're all used to growing up in New Jersey. You meant you're
No.
gonna cook the food fast, that's what you mean, right?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
And it's gonna be fresh, right?
It's gonna be all fresh ingredients.
Okay.
No food of ours is gonna be prepared outside and sell in our place. We're only gonna get the ingredients to make the food in the place in order to serve it.
Okay, and why did you choose this location?
Well, I chose the location because of the location. I think that Mike's Music Center is top location. It's right there, right in the middle, and it needs to be improved, and it needs to be shown as being the best, and that's how it's supposed to be.
And you mentioned earlier you're a member of the Elks. It's my understanding that Mike's Music Shop shares the property with the Elks Club, is that correct?
We do, yes.
And as part of developing this business plan, you have a business model and a site plan that's been drawn up. Have you shared that with the Elks Club?
I have not in detail shared to them like how we're going to run the business day to day.
What have
But
you
we
shared with
spoke, what we have shared with them is perhaps what we need them to do with us and what we should do with them.
Well, let's just back up a second. When you came up with the idea, you approached the Elks. They own Mike's Music Shop, right? The
Right.
building.
Right.
Did you need to obtain a lease agreement with them?
Oh, absolutely. We went through lawyers, and it was back and forth in order to get a common understanding and an agreement of what the price and how long the lease was going to be. It took an X amount of time, and then everybody signed, and we do have that, yes.
How many years is that lease?
The lease is 20 years. It's going to finish of the end of June of 2041.
And as part of negotiating the terms of that lease, you did explain to them what you intend to do and how you intend to operate that property, is that correct?
From the very first day.
Yes. So, and you've been in constant contact with them about your project as it's unfolded over time?
Oh, yes, we did meet with Gary and the rest of them, and we actually had the plans, and they all agreed on the plans, and we went ahead with that, yes.
So as far as you know, the Elks Club is in lockstep with what your idea is, your proposal?
Absolutely, there is no way I would actually try to get a lease from someone of 20 years without telling them what I'm gonna do with the place. You have to be frank, because, you know, it could be any kind of business. It could be business that's not even illegal. They shouldn't allow just any kind of business to go in there. I was very frank, and they knew exactly
Now,
that there would be a fast food Greek restaurant in there, yes.
Okay, and you have a lease agreement, and does that require you to pay a monthly rent?
I started paying rent, of course, since I signed the lease.
Now, I think we all know, looking at the property, in order to make it the vision that you have, it's going to require some change, some improvements, some restoration. Who's performing the restoration and improvements? The Elks Club or you? How's that gonna go forward?
We pay for everything,
Meaning you?
myself,
Okay. And
my household.
Okay.
Yes.
So, in your agreement with the Elks Lodge, the Elks Club, you have the responsibility to make any improvements or renovations to the property, is that correct?
Right, you know, they gave it to us with the sense that they knew that we have to restore the building before we get to put any kind of commercial, you know, equipment in there in order to work as a restaurant.
Now-
We have to first restore the building, yeah.
Now, putting aside what it's going to take, we'll get into those details in a minute, did you take out any kind of a loan, or are you funding this with your savings?
We have savings.
Okay, and you do, as we discussed, need to restore and renovate and improve the property to make it suitable for your use, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'd like you to talk a little bit about what you intend on doing in terms of those improvements.
Okay, I think I have some notes over here, which I might not even need because I'm the guy who wrote the notes. Well, first of all, we have to start out with the demolition. The interior demolition that the building currently has, like a second floor, believe it or not. When you see it from outside, and most of you perhaps never went in, you wouldn't know. But there is a second floor in there. And that second floor comes right down the middle of the store if you are downstairs. So it kind of splits up the space within like two big spaces, two smaller spaces that you won't need. So what we really want to do, what is going to work for us, is that we're going to have to demolish what's inside and go down to the bare shell, which is the brick walls. So in order for us to demolish the second floor, we have to first secure the rafters to be secure, and then take down whatever it is to be taken down, as well as the subfloor that needs to be removed. And once you have everything out, including windows and doors, then you're going to have to be starting the restoration problem. The restoration problem is going to start with the floor, I'm assuming, simply because they have to have something, you know, suitable for them to stand upon in order to do work around the place. So what I recommend, what I like, because right now I'm working at Grain and Cane Restaurant, which is like a restaurant in Berkeley Heights here, and it's like a heavy-duty kind of restaurant that I like, and they have the floors to be like cement slab. And I would like that for Mike's.
So understanding so far what you've described, you'll be removing the second floor, and you'll be changing out the actual flooring to cement.
Right, to cement.
And beyond that, then you'll have,
Wall to wall.
you would have to install appliances so you, to cook the food.
Well, before you put the appliances, you're gonna have to, like, pressure wash inside and outside of the building, and then point the building in order to be, steady to haul you in, sort of a thing, you know. You have to fix the building, restoration inside and out, and also the fascia around the building outside, underneath the roof, all the wood is rotten, all needs to come out, and wood's be coming out right now. And we put in new woods and paint it as in white in order to show no pride and happy, sort of.
So on the exterior, you'll be power washing the brick,
Right.
you'll
and
be pointing the brickwork,
Point to the brickwork.
you'll be replacing and painting the wood fascia,
Yes.
in addition to some other things we'll get into in a second. Moving back to the interior, we discussed some of the renovations. Tell us about the appliances and the cookware that you'll need.
The appliances, I already got in touch with the dining and restaurant equipment with George Carlos, and we have picked already all the equipment. They're all here. They're all American equipment, like Vulcan, as well as all the refrigeration is Continental, like all brand new equipment. Just the equipment alone is going to be like a little over $50,000.
So you'll have,
Should say any numbers, but all going to be brand new. Well, the wall, it's going to be the east wall that they're going to go on. All that wall has to be dressed with stainless steel.
in looking at the top photograph, where would the appliances
To the-
be?
To the right,
To the
to
right,
the right, from the front one all the way,
along that
Yes.
wall?
yes.
Okay. And so you'll have state-of-the-art modern commercial appliances, is that correct?
The best.
Tell us about the exhaust system.
The exhaust is going to be a fan, it's going to be on the roof, and of course, on top of all the equipment inside, it's going to be all the filters. You know, these filters are all metal and actually collects all the grease that they have to be cleaned once a month. And when the guy comes to clean once a month, he also has to go up to the roof in order to clean the fan free of grease, just so we wouldn't risk for any fires. You know.
Is there any noise associated with these fans?
There is no noise associated with these fans nowadays. You know, those days with the fans used to make a noise are over. These high-quality fans for restaurants nowadays, you could actually be sitting right next to it and you wouldn't be able to hear it sometimes.
And what do you anticipate in terms of any smells that might emanate from the building when you're cooking?
I think that the smells that's going to come up from the cooking is going to open up your appetite. I mean, look, it's a Greek cuisine, right? I mean, whoever went to a Greek restaurant and said, you know, let's get out of here, let's leave, because I don't think the smells in here are pretty good. I honestly think that the smells coming out of all kitchens, I wouldn't take one kitchen or another. We are humans, and I work with food all my life. There's one thing that we have in common, is the taste buds. If I like something, you're bound to like it as well. Of course, given we're in certain perimeters. There's a lot of weird food out there, but
So staying with that idea that you're gonna cook delicious, good food that smells great, the business, I understand, is gonna focus primarily on takeout orders, is that correct?
it's going to primarily be on takeout orders, but I don't want to be like subjected to that itself and just wait for the phone to ring. It's going to be so nice just to have like a couple of tables inside the place, let's say, because we would have the space, as well as to have like a little patio outside with 3 tables. It doesn't have to be more. Somebody to sit outside and have a meal if he doesn't want to take it home, let's say.
Okay, and so a few tables inside, a few tables outside, and we'll talk in a minute about where those tables might be on the outside. But getting back to the food itself, the orders, how would they be done primarily?
Well, you have your cooks over there, they're going to be doing the orders. I'm just kidding. The cooks, of course, is there in order to do the orders, but there is a certain procedure that goes before the chef gets the ticket, you know. We're thinking of like a couple of different ideas now. Of course, a lot of orders are going to come in by the computer. You know, somebody could send you the order, you have your computer there, you put the order on, they come. We have like a takeout counter that's it's going to be with a sign like takeout orders. They're going to be all lined up. The bag is going to be closed with their name on, whoever ordered it. They come in, they just take it and they go.
So let me just ask, so I'd go on the Gyro Valley website, and I'd have a menu, and then I'd have an option to place an order, is that what you anticipate?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, and then the order comes in, and you'll fill the order, and then you'll have the carryouts available for people to come in and pick them up.
Right. Of course, we also going to use the DoorDash, Uber Eats, And, and of course, give a little more extra choice to the people if they wanted to go that way, if they don't want us to bring it to them, or if we're not gonna have a delivery guy working for us.
Okay.
So they could come and pick it up, or they could have DoorDash or Uber Eats to come and pick it up from us.
And what are you anticipating for hours of operation?
11:30 to about 8:30 at night.
Okay. Now, focusing back on the exterior of the building, and we've been referring to that photograph, which is to your left, I understand that you anticipate putting some Belgian block along the curb line on Valley Road?
You know, we thought about putting some, what do you call, bollards, you call the?
Yeah, I mean, he's just referring to, you know,
On the road there, the curb.
The road that
You said
working on
Right.
these kind of,
Pavers?
Right, we were advised here actually to have the pavers starting from the beginning of our place and go around the corner, the closer corner of the driveway, and now I believe I was told halfway, and we agreed to that. I honestly think that it's going to make the place and the curb look a lot better and more trim.
Okay, and again, going back to that visual, there are stairs on the front. What, do you anticipate removing those stairs?
Those stairs will be removed. We were thinking about removing the cement as well, which is the platform that used to take, but you know, we changed our mind because I think that's extra security. We actually gonna make it look nicer, of course, either paint it in a nice color and put some planters on top of the railing there with some nice flowers in order to beautify the area.
And it's my understanding that the front of the building facing Valley Road will not have any entrance or exit, is that correct?
Yes, no, not at all.
So, and looking again at that photograph, where do you anticipate having the entrance and exit door?
Onto the left-hand side of the building, where the shade is right now, right in the middle of the building there. There is 3 windows there, so the middle window will be turned into a door.
Okay, and in order to support that as a means of entrance and exit, are you planning on building any kind of a patio or walkway?
Well, that's of course one reason, because in order to do the entrance over there, you're gonna have to do, let's say without a patio, you're gonna have to do some kind of walkway that's gonna take an X amount of space in order to give you the right of way to get in. So we were thinking about, you know, just enlarging the room and have like a little patio on the side there, which is actually gonna help the business a lot.
And Phil, that's because the parking is up around the back, is that right?
Well, yes, to me, if you take away the front, that would be the only way to get to the place.
Right, so there'll be some parking spaces up around the back of the building, is that correct?
Exactly where the building is. You see the white building in the back on the left?
Yes,
It's going to be in front of that building towards us. And
okay.
then it's going to be a set of stairs coming down into the patio.
And then you can
Yeah.
walk over to the side entrance or exit,
Right.
as the case may be. And how many parking spaces will you have?
I think it's about 7, I believe, or 8.
7 spaces?
7.
Okay. And I understand that between the parking area and the structure, you'll also be building, there'll be some stairs and a walkway, is that correct?
Yes. That's where it's going to be. And yeah, from the parking to come down, it's going to be this a staircase coming down into the patio, and then from the patio you go into the front door, which is going to be on the left-hand side. Yeah.
And while we're discussing the parking area, obviously as a restaurant, you're going to need a garbage bin. And what do you anticipate in terms of garbage?
Well, there is one there right now which serves the Elks, but I just don't think, you know, to be honest with you, David was kind enough to say, hey, you could use ours. I says, you know, this was like a 3-yard dumpster, and I just didn't think it was efficient for us and them at the same time. I offered and I told them, I says, listen, how about we do this instead of having a dumpster for you here in the parking lot and a dumpster for us here in the parking lot? How about we're gonna spend and do an enclosure right between us, and instead of a 3-yarder, we get a 6-yarder, and we're gonna put it in there, and you could put your one bag, let's say, and we could put our gazillion bags. I'm just kidding. But, so we agreed, you know, I had called up the Company Republic, which is serving the area here as well, and I got a price on them, and whatever money perhaps Elks is paying right now, they're gonna be paying a little less in order to be half and half, and we're gonna split the difference, and it's gonna be an enclosure that we're gonna have, just so wild animals or birds wouldn't go in there. We all know that those bins have to be closed at all times, and that's about that.
Okay, now, you mentioned the Elks Club and you'll share the garbage. You do share this property with the Elks Lodge itself, is that correct?
We do.
And you are a member of the Elks, so how often does the Elks meet, just in terms of anticipating whether or not there might be any issues with parking, where there's overlapping activities?
They meet once a month, every second Tuesday of the month. They meet early in the evening for the higher people who is in the who is running the club, and then for the rest of us members is like between 7 and 8 o'clock.
And it's my understanding that there aren't that many members of the Elks Club that are active and participating in these meetings, and perhaps it's as low as 15. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's about, 10, 12, or sometimes if they, spend the time in order to get everybody in, you could get as much as 20 people, let's say.
So would it be fair to say that you don't anticipate any issues with respect to parking or people at the property in terms of the Elks and your proposed restaurant?
I never think that it would ever be a problem. Actually, on their own, they even said to me, hey, what if you have like 6 cars and this and that, you could always park in this end. The parking lot is a giant, it's always empty. However, we don't want to commit any troubles either, but the thing is that they are nice enough to say you could always use this, no problem.
At this point, I think I would defer to the board if there are any questions of Phil, or we could proceed with the engineer.
All right, members, do you have any question of the applicant?
I just have
Go
one. How many seats do you anticipate there being in the restaurant, inside and outside? How many seats?
Inside the restaurant, I would say about 4 seats.
Okay.
2 tables, 4 seats?
4 to 6. I would say 6 seats inside, 3 tables of 2.
Okay. Any outside?
And the outside, I would say about 8 to 9 people. I would say about 4 tables of 2.
Okay. 6 and 8.
Yeah. We're not looking for a whole lot then.
And Phil, from an aesthetic, you're going to have a chalkboard with the menu on the inside?
Yes, inside the signs would be made out of blackboard, and it's going to be written in white, nicely artistically done. That's going to be pleasant to see, but it's going to bring some atmosphere. It's fair to say that the top part of the building, the rafters, is going to be showing with the wood on the inside. All that's going to be painted in black, and then it's going to be like lights lowered from the very top coming to the middle as in spotlights in order to bring some atmosphere. I believe, like, although you have like a takeout place, no matter what, people, when they go to eat something, I think they should look exactly what surrounds that and how clean the place is kept. That's what I think about food, anyway.
Any other questions, Scott? Yes, Dan.
You were talking about having the DoorDash and/or personal pickup. How are you expecting these people to drive through compared to the outlay you show in the plans of the parking? Are you expecting them to go past your building, park in one of the 7 parking spots? Are we not there yet?
Yeah, that's a perfectly good question. The access to the building would be through that existing driveway and park in the back?
Exactly, yeah. So they're going to come up, they're going to park their car, just walk down, come on in, pick up the stuff, and go right up again.
So there'll be no parking to the left of the building where there used to be?
No, because actually, we kind of questioned at the very beginning, but it's not enough space in order for somebody to take a turn and get out from there.
So that's where the patio's gonna be.
That's where the patio is gonna be, so we figure, you know, this is a good spot for a patio.
How are you gonna make it so that people know not to pull in there with a car? Are you gonna, because right now, if you look, it's level with the road. How are you gonna keep people from parking there?
Because people always tends to do the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
How about we put a little sign there?
Well, are you gonna build it up there? Are you gonna make like a berm? Are you gonna make it so people can't pull in there,
So
or?
patio, I mean, I don't wanna
Right.
speak out of turn.
Okay. No, go
We
ahead.
will certainly get into this.
Oh, okay, you're gonna explain that?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
gonna be,
But, I mean, the patio essentially is blocking, like,
It's gonna block that.
any cars from really even getting into that space, so there's really not gonna be any space left for anybody to
Okay.
really.
So it's gonna be obvious that you don't pull a car in.
Abundantly obvious, yes.
Good.
and it's a great amount of space. I mean, take a look at that building right now in that picture, and there is a house on this side who is like they take care of dogs.
Yeah, it's a vet.
Right, so, and you still can see, it's a good amount of space from one end to the other.
Yeah.
And still, you can really see his driveway, which reaches almost to that point.
Right.
So I think there's a good amount of space there.
Oh, sure. I'm not questioning the space. I'm just saying that I don't want people to get the idea they're gonna pull the car there like they used to.
Well, if there is, you're right, I've seen cars there.
Yeah.
I think that
Mike used to park his car there too.
when we built the patio, let's say, and we have an X amount of space left between us and his driveway, I think it's fair enough if we don't want anybody to park there, to put up a sign there, like,
Are you gonna landscape it, make it look like?
absolutely, yeah. You
Okay.
can't go without landscaping nowadays.
Right, so it's gonna be grassed and landscaped and made look
Absolutely.
like it's not a parking area.
That's right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
are people using the front door anymore, or are they only using a different door?
Well, the front door right now is being used because that's the only door to get in, but once we once we take care of the place, the front door, you see those two doors, they're all the way down. What we're gonna do with those two doors is like build them from the bottom up to where the bottom of the window is. And then turn those two doors into window again.
Okay.
So it's gonna be very aesthetic to the eye, you know, very pleasant to the eye when you see them, you know, all nice. Because it's actually 6 windows there. 2 windows on one side, a double on the other end, which is gonna be split into 4, and then 2 more in the center, 6 windows.
I don't doubt that it would be beautiful. I mean, we all know the building's very close to Valley Road, so it would be a matter of, pedestrians, customers, using the front door very close to Valley Road would be,
Yeah.
a concern. So
well
it's good
said.
to hear that.
I'm just going
Yeah.
to interject, I apologize, this is breaking the decorum a little bit. We are removing that ramp, people will not, or the stairs to get onto that porch, there will not be any
Okay.
physical access to get onto that front porch. And what Phil said, there's no more doors, that is purely for aesthetics, we're putting some potted plants out there, people will not be coming in there. They wanna come in, they come in through the western side door.
Okay.
Thank you, Gordon.
Go ahead.
I've got another
Oh, you
question.
have another question? I'm
Is
sorry.
that okay? Yeah, all right. So how do you actually pronounce this meat-filled pita bread sandwich? I just want to hear how you...
Hero.
Okay.
Hero, okay.
All right, just want to make sure,
Sausage.
I was hoping that's what you were going to say.
You know, I spoke,
But, for my non-Greek board members here, I just wanted to hear from you.
perhaps,
Show off.
perhaps you could,
3-stop.
perhaps you could tell, but when I was at the age of 15 and I came to this country, I didn't speak the language at all. I learned the language here, which is a good many years, let's say, but it wasn't easy. But I still, my native language, I think in Greek. Well,
You have
when you
to,
speak
'cause
the
that's the right
language,
way.
when you think. I think in the Greek language, that is, I should say, right?
And also to verify, the dolmades will be hand-rolled, they're not out of a can? You did testify to
I'm
that.
gonna invite you guys on the grand opening, and you gotta come and try it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Is there, I have a question.
You have another
It
question?
might be for the Elks.
Okay.
Is there a representative from the Elks here?
Yeah.
So he
Why
has,
don't we hold
Yeah,
off
that's
till, if they're gonna have time. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, so you were saying about 2 employees or 4 employees plus yourself at a time usually?
Yes.
And is the plan for, like, where do you plan on parking, I guess? If it's 7 spots for the,
I'm gonna park with David.
okay. Now, I was just curious, is there anything in your lease about that, or is that just a,
I cannot say that. I think there is something about parking, that we are provided parking, but I don't think that they differentiate between our part of the parking and their part of the parking. But I can guarantee you there's not gonna be any problem if I had a
So
problem.
same for overflow parking, I guess, then? So you're saying if there's a time when you're busier and you have, more cars, then the idea is that they would park in the Elks parking lot?
Right, I don't think it would be ever a problem. I mean, David could actually confirm that as well, but I don't think there will be. Myself, I don't think it will be a problem.
Any other questions? Okay.
Just so clarifying, I guess what I think you were saying is that you or your employees will never be parking, or you don't plan to be parking in the 7 spots that are allocated behind that's your plan?
Let's just hope that we're not gonna park there, because if we are suggested to park over there without any problems, then we're doing something wrong.
Well,
So I
you're
would
hoping
say-
that you have 7 people.
I would say, I wanna get my employees, I wanna get members with the Elks.
That's a condition of
Okay.
employment?
That's $91 a year, right? Each. And that's where they will be parking,
Okay.
if that makes any sense.
No.
Will anybody be speaking to traffic or no?
Traffic
Will
issues.
anybody be speaking to traffic? Is there anyone to testify to traffic?
We can discuss the existing conditions of the.
Okay, as an engineer, you're gonna discuss the existing exit and entrances and the lights?
Yeah, of
Okay.
the existing driveway that's being used by the Elks Lodge.
And you'll be able to speak to that signal on that intersection?
Just presenting what is currently there.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, any other questions? No, okay. Yeah, is there any public on the phone, on the
Zoom?
computer, anywhere?
There is, there is public, but no questions right now.
No questions, okay.
Sorry.
We have some electronic public,
I
but no
have
questions.
some electronic public, but
Okay.
we're also having the Zoom feed issue, so.
We're having a
Never
Zoom
mind.
feed issue, okay. We're not feeding Zoom or what? Okay,
We've got website, okay, we've got LHTV, but the Zoom, never mind.
okay, all right,
We're in no moment.
we're not Zooming. All right, so hearing there's no public present that I can see. The only people that are present are members of your constituents for the applicant. All right, so what is your next witness?
This would be Gary Sorkin, engineer.
Okay. Before you testify, could you give us your little background of yourself and your credentials?
Sure.
Oh, we got some more feedback, hold on. Hold on. We're in the twilight zone again.
Your volume.
I tried something, it didn't work.
Vice Chair,
Just speak like this.
Okay,
Sorry
All
about
right.
that.
no problem. Could you give us, speak into the mic, please? Actually, do we have the other mic, the portable
Yes.
mic? Could you give him that one? We'll give you the portable mic so you can stand up.
See if I can make this work now.
Yes.
Or I can sit, if that's easier.
No, you can stand, that's fine. We'll give you the portable mic, because you want to point to these things.
Come on. 2 years of being out of the courtroom.
Yeah,
It's like everything falls apart.
not like it worked before, anyway.
Thank you.
Good, all right.
Alrighty.
Okay, give us your background.
Yeah, so my name is Gary Sorkin. How's everybody doing? Thank you guys for coming tonight and listening to our application. I'm a civil structural engineer. I've been a licensed professional engineer, licensed in New Jersey, New York, PA, and Florida. I have experience testifying in front of planning and zoning boards on the residential level, mainly on the retaining wall side. I also have done some work for the dark side with the telecommunication companies, helping them install some monopoles and that side as well. So that's my general background.
And your license in New Jersey is current?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
We deem you an expert.
Thank you. Alrighty. All right, we're going to get into the nitty gritty. We're here to present the application for development for the proposed takeout restaurant Gyro, Hero Valley, seeking minor site plan approval. These are the plans that you guys have from February 22nd. We will be touching on some of the reports from Samantha and Liz from March 8th, March 9th. We're going to try to go through this relatively briefly, not get caught up on too much of the technical side, but if we want to dive into that, we'll open up the floor for questions. And I do want to emphasize that this is definitely a collaborative process with the town professionals, to improve the town through these proposed properties and amenities. As such, we are very open to any help and suggestions to get this built as safely as possible to meet all applicable town and county requirements while keeping in mind the scope of this takeout restaurant and the current conditions. As the proposed takeout restaurant is small, the budget for the project is proportional to the project size. As such, we do have to remain efficient, as budget is very important. So we're just gonna dive in. This is SP 001 that I believe everybody has. Again, we need to emphasize a few aspects. This is a very large property, over 6 acres. Our building is in the very, very southwest corner. We are on that front property line. The building, previously Mike's Music, is now vacant, run down, vegetation is growing everywhere. The interior is very deteriorated. The second floor is unusable and has been like this for at least 6 years. And Phil is proposing to bring in this restaurant that will substantially beautify this area. The area is the actual building, relatively small, 24 by 28, with the kitchen being half the size. We'll get into some of the interior layout. As we've already discussed, the parking is being proposed directly behind the building. You can kind of see that we have our access driveway in here, which leads to approximately 30 spaces for the Elks Lodge, within our 7 spaces being proposed directly behind. Our actual area of disturbance is 5,600 square feet, approximately 0.1 acres, compared to the 6 acres of the property. I won't get into too much of the use. Barbara will get into that, but we are in the BD zone, surrounded by mix of commercial uses. We have the Exxon and the ShopRite located directly across the street from us. There's the veterinary hospital directly to our west, and per Liz's report, a good point that she brought up is the former car wash that is the east was designated as an area in need of redevelopment. And there certainly are a few vacant properties on the stretch of Valley Road. One thing that we should discuss is some of the history of this property. I think this is a good time to enter a few exhibits. So I'm going to put the mic down. Hopefully this is set. So I have a little packet of...
Pick up the mic, please.
Sorry. So I have a little packet of 3 exhibits that I'm just going to show you, and then we're going to pass them around. The first being some street views, some aerials, and a previous survey from the 70s, just to, again, give you a little history of what was prior directly behind our building, as that definitely, I think, is a very applicable aspect.
Did you mark one of them A3?
Yep, I've done that.
Okay.
And how many pages?
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or, I wish I could count. I'm an engineer. I should be able to count. 4 pages. So that is A3. Then A4, we've already touched on it, is my response to Samantha and Liz's reports. That, again, we will hopefully touch on all of their comments. But again, if there's anything that we want to discuss, we certainly can. And then not part of this package is we do have an architect on board, Archstone, and they have provided a preliminary interior layout, which I think might be beneficial for you to look at as well. So should I give this to you?
Start with me.
Was that interior layout a separate exhibit?
Yes, that is A5. That is a 1-page 11 by 17.
Does it correspond to SP 004?
It does work in conjunction with it. It is on there.
Did you bring enough for everybody, or?
I believe so. I think there should be at least 11. So there should be 3 for A3, A4, A5 for everybody.
Right here, I only have.
Well, that's because I didn't give you everything. Sorry. My apologies. Alrighty, so while Deb is passing that out, just give you a little further background. Directly north of our Mike's Music Shop, there was a 4-unit apartment building that was demolished in late 2015, early 2016. Which you can see in the street views and also present on the aerials and also the survey. Also noted on the survey is the previous driveway that used to lead up directly along the property line that came into the parking lot slightly differently, which I think that was shifted in the late 70s. So as you can see, there used to be 3 principal buildings on our property prior to 2015. Again, the Elks Lodge, the residential building demoed in 2016, and then our building. So just wanted to establish we had 3 principal buildings. Now we have 2.
Is the Elks Lodge one building in your view?
It's this block of buildings there. Kind of see it right here.
Yeah, I just didn't know whether you were classifying as one building.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We've performed 2 rounds of Oprah requests in September 2021. We've established there are no direct use variances related to our building. That's a good transition into the Elks Lodge. We've already touched on this a lot already, that we have the main driveway that the Elks Lodge uses. Also on the property, there's a garage that's used mainly for like lawnmowers and landscaping equipment, and then there are a few sheds that I believe the Boy Scouts have some of their storage in there. Also of note is to the very rear of the property, we have wetlands present. They are freshwater wetlands. As such, we did have Brian Kramer of CES perform the wetlands delineation on February 11th and has established that any of our proposed work is over 200 feet away from the wetlands. And his report, which I can enter as an exhibit if that would be useful. Samantha, should I enter the wetlands delineation report? Okay. We're up to A6. So I do not have enough copies for everybody. It's kind of a beefy report.
I'll need one for the record, yeah. No,
We can share.
yeah, I'm gonna. All right, there's,
More or less, it says that we have to remain 150 feet away from this classification of
here,
wetlands.
I'm sorry, hold on. Board, there's 3 copies here, so if you want to kind of
And there's 20
Take one.
pages in there.
share with some of your members.
Jerry, is the map one of the pages in there? Because that's a property.
Yes, I believe so.
If you're gonna look at anything, look at the map where it shows the delineation.
Should be in the middle.
I'm sorry, and while we're on a pause, could you clarify what we marked as Exhibit A2, please?
So A2 was the backside of this.
All right, and what specifically is that?
Looks like an aerial image.
Aerial.
Aerial image.
Thank you.
So just in summary about the wetlands, we are 200 feet away, we have to be 150 foot away. As such, it's not a problem. You now have that report. Should also be reiterated that our patio is going and the parking is going almost exactly where that previous residential building was located. Which further, it's not like we're disturbing new area. This had a building, and there was some, access, directly next to the building, which we are essentially replacing as is with the parking lot. All right, so move on to the next page.
Excuse me, we noticed on your wetlands delineation sketch that there is a property line, it appears to be to be a property line drawn. Is there two separate lots that the Elks is considered, and that, see, there's a line right through here? Is that a separate lot, Mike's Music, to the Elks?
Just to clarify, this tiny little black dot, that's our building.
Oh, that's your building,
Yeah,
okay. That's the building.
Yeah, you're pointing to the veterinary.
Thank you.
Yep.
Because you can't tell with that black and white.
Yes, yeah, sorry.
That looked like just a photography glitch. Yeah.
I believe on Exhibit 3, hopefully there's some better aerials. And just for some levity, because again, I know I'm a little dry sometimes. I believe Mike is seen on this bottom image here. I don't know if anybody knows Mike.
That's Mike.
I believe that's Mike standing on the that front porch area. I think you can even see his smile behind Google's blurred face image there.
That's his yellow car, the yellow car he had.
So yeah, it's interesting how Google Street View works. That sometimes they catch some fun little images. Alrighty, so now we're moving on to the site plan. Again, we've touched on a good amount of this already, but just to get everything fully laid out. Existing building to remain. We are proposing to put in this patio towards the west and the rear. We are proposing to put in a 7 parking space parking area. Due to the grade elevation change, we need to provide stairs and also an ADA ramp to get down to this patio. The parking is gravel, matching what is present for the Elks Lodge. The patio stairs and ramp are approximately 1,700 square feet, and the parking and trash enclosure are about 3,200 square feet. We've already discussed. There used to be an entrance directly on Valley Road. We are now proposing to utilize this western entrance for one of the main reasons for safety. Obviously, we do not want people actively in Valley Road's right of way, which is why the patio gives us a little separation due to the elevation that we're 3 foot above grade of Valley Road. So we're up here. Then there's an additional 3.5 foot tall concrete barrier that will be up here, 3 foot plus 3.5 foot at 6.5 foot relative to Valley Road, which is down here. So just some further aspects related to us being on the front property line. We have been in contact with Morris County already. We submitted the initial plans to the Morris County Planning Board and also Soil Conservation District back in November. They provided a site plan report in December, which I can. Do you guys have that already? Do you have this one? Okay. So we'll enter that one. That is, what are we up to? 8? A6.
No, A7.
A7. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry, so clarify, what is that, Gary?
So this is Morris County Planning Board's site plan report, essentially their review and their comments. Yep, I'll give that too.
It's a preliminary report because it's not final, right?
Correct. So then I'll give a little bit further history regarding the review. So we have their report, their comments, just to summarize again, you can take a look at it, related to obviously the right-of-way, the front stairway, porch, the granite curb being added, just so you can kind of see, we touched on it earlier. The curb, is just the standard Morris County curb, just kind of running along our frontage and then coming up. They wanted it 15 foot up from the property line to kind of extend. They also discussed the stormwater control features, maintaining the zero net increase, and also some signage. No mention of any traffic issues. So in mid-February, we had a Zoom on February 14th, which we went over just to make sure that I was addressing all of their comments and they were pleased with our responses. I sent them our revised plan set on February 24th, which is what you have in front of you. They have indicated they are close to granting approval. One of the main things that they wanted to just work out was just, we went back and forth that, we were fine removing the stairs, but we wanted to leave the porch as, again, it's another barrier to kind of keep Valley Road away from our building. And also, if you remove it, then the building could have some undermining issues, so we decided to leave it, but remove the stairs and just use that as an aesthetic feature.
Are you gonna fix the railing so it's?
100%, yes.
So
No.
it blocks that?
100%. Yep, yeah, just to close it out right in here, and I have, on the next sheet, I'll show that as well.
Sorkin, do you
Yes.
mind, I'm assuming you said that the 3 feet was where the current patio is.
Right, so
Walkway is now.
the roadway is at approximately, I think it's at like this is 226. So I think it was at like 223. On one of the future pages, it has the exact grade there, but Valley Road, 3 foot down. The walkway of the patio, where the feet are, is 3 foot up, which is where the doorway will be to enter into the building. And then up from that is our 3.5 foot tall guardrail, which will be concrete.
That's towards Valley Road.
Correct. And the entire perimeter will have the 3.5 foot tall.
So if you were driving down Valley Road and you looked towards Hero Valley, you would find out that you would see a 6.5 foot wall as you drove past.
Correct. Only for this little 10 foot section, again, largely
Well,
this.
not the whole front of the building.
Correct. No. So the existing porch will largely remain as is. Again, we'll be on the landscaping plan we could show, but some potted plants, some flower beds in that. It's only for the patio is where we're doing this concrete, wall and just to, again, provide a level walking area for the patio, which I think will look great when we're all completed there.
Thank you for that clarification.
We just, to wrap up the Morris County correspondence, we've sent the final hard copies to them March 11th, so they are underway with their formal approval. Let's touch base on some of the zoning table. Now, again, Barbara will be addressing mainly the variances in greater detail. We've already discussed some of this side yard aspect. The main bulk variance that we're requesting is the side yard. So currently the building is just at 20 foot. We are proposing to reduce that down to approximately 9 foot. And again, because we have to scrap that front entryway, we had to enter in from another location. We did explore a few different options, playing around with the stair locations, the ramp, the sizes of the patio, where the parking was going to be, and that made the most sense, because if you go on the right side, this mound, you can kind of see on A1 here, you'd need to excavate, and it'd be even more of a headache just to kind of get the grading to kind of work to enter in from that way. And also, the utilities just make sense to kind of have the kitchen on the east side, the customer touch and service area on the west side. And also, we do need a patio to enter in from this way, because again, we do have a secondary means of egress out of the building, mainly for the restaurant employees out of this rear door. but we could not make that the sole entryway, because then that, like if we wanted to have any level of patio, it would then push everything up way too far, and then we're kind of like outside of Phil's kind of leased area, because we were told that we had to kind of stay in front of that garage, and that would have just pushed everything up. So again, that's why we need this this bulk variance to kind of allow for us here. Phil already touched on this already, but the vet has a parking area that's like almost right up to the parking or to the property line already. Right now, currently, there's just gravel and debris all in this western side. I mean, the whole area has debris everywhere, and a lot of the crushed stone left from the demolition. Alrighty, so we talked about that. Okay, moving on to the next aspect of the bulk table is the existing, nonconformity of us being right on that front property line. I don't know how this happens over the years, but we are actually 2 foot into the right-of-way. Again, we've been in correspondence with Morris County Planning Board. They're aware of that fact. And again, any work that we're doing would be in that front yard setback. Like, I think 20 foot is almost like I think we're supposed to have a 20-foot setback, which would erase like all work, and you'd have no way of doing anything in the front portion. So again, that's why we have to maintain that existing setback. We will not be doing any work over the county right-of-way, though. One aspect that I will not really be touching on is the D1 use variance. Barbara will certainly touch on that. We'll just move through that. Again, the multiple different principal buildings. The way that we came to using 7 parking spaces, Phil already testified to this, is we have proposed 6 interior seats, 9 exterior seats. Again, if everybody is interior and exterior, based off of the code, 1 space per 2.5 seats, comes out to 6 spaces. We're providing 7. And then similarly, based on interior and exterior floor area devoted to seating, comes out to a little less than 6 seats or 6 spaces, and we have the 7. And we've touched on this already, that Phil should be parking outside of these spaces. Also, if there are a need for any overflow, there's 30 unused parking spaces for the vast majority of the month. The Elks Lodge only meets at night, so that is fully open during the day, and then their meeting times are very infrequent already. Also, just to mention, we are not in the flood zone. We're in Class X outside of the 500-year floodplain. During Hurricane Ida, there was no water in this immediate area of Valley Road. I don't want to waste everybody's time. There was certainly some point that we were going to contemplate not presenting the ADA ramp. It'd be a waste of time to go through that. We need to have the ADA ramp, so we've laid it out to maintain all of the ADA requirements about the slope, the allowable elevation change, etc. We can certainly get into that in the subsequent pages. Alrighty. Also, we haven't really talked about this yet, and we will. We have some proposed drainage features and some lighting. So we're going to move on.
I have a question. That patio, is it going to have any covering over it? Is it going to be tables with umbrellas, or how are you going to have any issue? You grab the mic.
So we certainly could do that. As of right now, we don't have any proposed covering. That's certainly something, Phil, that we can work out with the architect about.
Well, I mean, if you want it, you got to let us know that. I mean, if you want a patio cover over that or some sort of roof over it, that's what you got to tell us now.
As of right now, we don't have any firm plans for covering the actual seating. It would be individual.
Each table going to have its own umbrella.
I think that would be the general plan as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, we could start out with the umbrellas on every table on the outside. Let's say if it's only like, a few tables.
Right, it would only be for 3 tables or so.
However, I was talking about it with my wife, and we were thinking about a pergola kind of woods going out with some kind of coverage up on top. But
that would be in a separate application that we would come before the board before we did any kind of renovations.
I'm just trying to bring that out because we like repeat customers, but
Yeah. That's
not
gonna
to
be-
the point we're gonna spend more money.
Umbrellas, I believe.
Okay, umbrellas on the table, that's fine.
Yes, let's get this restaurant built first. Alrighty.
Again, if I'm going too long, somebody plays some Emmy music, and I'll try and speed up the process here.
Can I slip in a parking question while you're flipping pages?
Sure.
Well, unless he has his mic in his hand, I won't.
I'll try and talk louder. I'll try.
No, just wait until you get the mic back in your hand before. He can ask the question, but don't
Mr.
answer it
Chair,
until you get there.
could we ask questions about, if we're going on to a new thing, can I ask
Oh,
a question
oh.
about the prior?
Oh, sure. Could you
Sorry.
flip the other one back?
Sorry, I
please?
didn't want you to, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I didn't realize you had a
I
question
had
about that one.
2 questions on that drawing.
Yeah, wait, let him get his mic in his hand. Ask away.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So on the west side of the building, there is something that says is gated stairs, street level to patio, stair location to be confirmed. See that?
Yes, yeah, so that, again, that's just a secondary means of egress. God forbid there's an emergency. We need to provide, so people don't have to go, if they're on the patio or in the building, to go all the way up the stairs, up the ramp. A secondary means of egress just right onto there, and we will match the kind of existing aesthetic for that little stairs and landing there.
So my first question is that the point at which you're measuring the 8 feet from the stair base? Or is it?
So the 9 foot
Or
that
whatever
we
the
are,
number is. 9 foot.
that's for the extent of the retaining wall. So that is not, that dimension is not shown for where those stairs would actually fall into that.
That's what we should be measuring from?
Yeah.
We should measure to the stairs,
Okay.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So what would that measurement be?
Just rough math of getting down 3
looks like about
foot,
4
and you're
feet
having
maybe.
7 inches, we'll say 6 inches. How many stairs is that?
Is your drawing to
Be
scale? Can you?
6. Yeah, it certainly should be.
It's like
I
it's about half.
should have a ruler, but I believe it should be 7, and I think that it actually maybe counts to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 stairs. Thanks. So it looks like it extends less than 7 feet, so it looks like it extends.
You're talking about the stairs now, right?
Yeah, so we're at about, we can say conservatively it will be down to 3 foot in that area. It might be closer to
3 foot
4
setback for the side yard.
for just that area. The rest will be the 9 foot, but at that stair area, based on the,
Stairs take up 6 feet?
give or, I think that we might be a little conservative. It might be closer to like 5 foot, but yes. Again, we have to get down 3 foot or so.
Well, while we're on it and we're discussing the side yard setback, Phil was a little not certain about what's being built. Walkway, patio, maybe this.
Which aspects?
But when he was talking about the entrance and the patio, I just want to know if anything beyond what's in this drawing is built, the applicant's coming back?
I mean, this is, as of right now, this is the plan
This
for,
is the plan.
yes, yes. Yeah, and again, we
Sure
have
about the
talked
cover
to,
of the patio.
Before, when he was talking about the entrance. it might
Oh,
be
okay, all right.
A walkway, it might be a patio.
this front entryway, we'll call that the front porch, which is again just an aesthetic. There's no access. Then the patio being the side and the rear. And again, this is the game plan that that
That's
we're
fine.
trying to build.
So another point of clarification after that, so now we moved on. Phil had mentioned the fact that because of the discussion of whether people would park over there and having signage, and there's no access, but now it looks like there actually is access. Is there going to be, like, is this gate, you say it's an emergency exit, but is this gate, will this be something that if someone did park over here, they could come up into the?
So we do have a tree like that we're showing like directly.
Yeah.
We have a tree, the stairs, and then additional trees
They
as part of
park, say,
landscaping.
if they wanted to park in the vet's parking lot?
In the vets, I
and
mean, we
then
could have
walk up
a no
that.
parking sign, and that is one thing that Morris County did indicate that we have a no parking sign located right here.
But that might not prevent someone from parking the vets and then using those stairs to come up into your property.
Do we have any hold on somebody if they park over there? I mean, that's not our parking lot. I mean,
No, I guess what I'm saying is there something like an external, like a gate that you obviously want to be open from the inside, but not from the outside, so that people know not to come up that stairway to come to your restaurant. They have to come up from the rear. But if there is an emergency, God forbid, the people on the patio can
leave.
exit through there.
I know what you're talking about, make it so you can't open it.
Can't
going
open it
up.
from the outside.
And I think an exit, probably a sign that says exit only.
Yes,
So
something
you
like that.
Pulled up through the vet parking lot, look down
And
the
people will
stairs,
learn
you see a sign
eventually.
that says exit only.
And
Yeah, I
maybe
think-
a sign in the vet saying veterinary parking only.
Yeah, I think
Work with them about that.
working with
Essentially
those.
reaching out to them and just kind of, I'm sure they do not want people parking
Right.
in
Oh,
their parking
definitely,
lot,
definitely
utilizing
not,
your
yeah.
business. So I think
No
as a
way,
good
yeah.
neighbor, you might want to go to
It
them
wouldn't
and
be fair.
explain this and how you're trying to mitigate it potentially with the
Unless they bring
signage.
their dog to the vet and get food from you, that's okay.
And
But
It's
Yeah,
dual use, I guess it's, you know.
And two more quick questions, hopefully. To the east, I know that there's, it says walk-in freezer, and I believe it's pointing to the building, right?
so I'm not sure if I was clear on the additional proposed, I guess structures more or less. Because the current bathroom is on the second floor, and again, we have very limited amount of space in the interior of this 24 by 28 building. We have this proposed bathroom, this 8 by 8, which is really the smallest allowed by ADA, which is located in the northwest corner. Then we have a dry storage and a walk-in freezer, which is, again, part of this like little utility space of the
They'll be
patio.
physically attached to the building.
They'll be right there, and we are incorporating that into, the foundation design for the patio and the retaining
But
walls.
the building's getting a little bigger there.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, again, it's a detached structure. The dry storage and walk-in freezer, you cannot access them from Frill's Grill. You have to go outside of the doorway
But the
to enter
bathroom
into.
you can.
100%, yes.
And the thing to the southeast is where it says walk-in freezer, that's below ground, right? That's stormwater? That's that little square structure with the circle in the middle?
Yes, yeah, and we will be touching on that. That's a seepage
And
pit,
then my
yes.
last question, parking lot, or not? I mean, it shows lines, but you said it was gravel, so I assume it will not be lined?
I mean, at the bare minimum, we will have the park stops, which will
Delineate as
hopefully
parking spots.
indicate like these are the 7 parking spaces.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to strap gravel.
Right. Yeah. I mean, not.
Okay, those were my
Well,
questions.
while we're talking about parking spaces, those 7 parking spaces, is his lease for just those 7 parking spots? Because I've heard that, we have plenty of overflow for 30 extras. Not necessarily all customers are Elk members, but, Phil and his crew will be. How many parking spots are we have here? 30 or 37?
So, to my knowledge, the Elks Lodge has approximately 30. David had mentioned that they've had, well over 30 people park in there, because the property does go back quite a ways. But in terms of like what you're trying to get at is, something more formal, I think that there should be a formal agreement written between Phil and the Elks Lodge to fully establish that, yes, Phil's employees can park there as required, and then certainly any overflow, they can work out the
Because
kind
your
of the logistics.
application is just for the 7 that are
Right, and again,
required for-
based on the calculations, we need
Yeah.
6, and we're providing the 7
And that would be for customers only.
for the overflow.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the 7 are just customers.
That's the current state. Yes.
But
One
you should be so lucky to have 30 people.
Right. Yes. That's the hope that we will be out the door.
People just lined up.
All right. I'm gonna move on.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Did the county, does the traffic light face the business as well, or is that?
So there's a traffic light here that goes. There's at least one here that goes down Poplar.
Right.
There's another one, I believe, on the opposite side that goes along Valley Road. And then on the south side intersection, there's definitely additional traffic lights on that side. There's nothing facing the Elks Lodge driveway. We have a stop sign, which is what they've used for however long they've been there, and that is what we are proposing to remain.
And the
Correct,
county
but-
was fine with
Well,
that?
hold on, I've been at that intersection. That is a very difficult turn to get out of, because you're in a blind spot going onto Valley
Where
Road.
you're going, yeah.
So that's why I was asking that question about traffic, because
Sure.
that is not an easy driveway to get out of. And you don't know when Poplar is making their turn, because you can't see their light.
Right.
And you're trying to look at the crosswalk to see whether or not you can make the turn, because you can't see down Valley. 'Cause
You can't see the red light
No,
from
you
Valley,
can't see
yeah.
it. So I would suggest taking a look at that, because for the amount of traffic you're proposing to have here, that's going to be a significant change from
So
what's being proposed.
I 100%.
Especially DoorDash guys, right? Like,
Right.
they're not looking for traffic lights at all.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely understand where you're coming from. The Elks Lodge has utilized this in the past. They have not indicated that there's been any substantial issues with turning.
They have functions there, larger functions, as you mean?
Yeah, and again, this is a takeout restaurant. Like
Exactly, it's a takeout restaurant, which means you want cars coming in and out on a regular basis.
Right,
That's
but
a different
it's not
level
like
of
there's going to
traffic.
be a queue of cars there. But I do understand your comment. And again, we did present this to Morris County. Their only comment related to the signage was just this stop line being located here. There was no mention of the traffic study or any.
Do your drawings show the hill on the other side?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Because if the drawings are flat and you don't have elevations, then Morris County's not going to pick up that you're blind on that corner.
Is there any way of the Elks making a better, or having a better sight line to the left of that building? Because that driveway to the left, there's a little bit of a mound there. If that could, maybe there could be a better sight
I'm
line.
going to turn the page because there are some images looking that might be beneficial.
Before you turn the page on that, one question on you said you're putting exterior storage, dry storage and refrigeration on the outside.
Yes.
The access from the outside. So the intention is that if it happens to be a rainy day, there's no roof, you have to walk out into the rain to get the foodstuffs and come back into the building?
I mean, as of right now, I mean, whether we could do some small yeah, I see what you're saying about that's like just to enter and exit out of those freezer and storage areas. It may be beneficial to have a building mounted little canopy for that small. It's probably going to be like 3 to 4 foot wide, and just extend out, the 4 foot or so.
To the line of the freezer and the storage.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, essentially, that's we can certainly address that.
Right. So if you're considering that, I would suggest now would be a good time to include that so that it's part of the site plan.
Right.
Phil, are you okay with that? Okay, so as a condition of approval, we will be resubmitting these plans, and on those resubmitted plans, we will be indicating that for this area, we will be showing a canopy for that 4 foot wide by 6 foot, essentially some level of canopy for that entrance into
Covers
those.
at least the doorways. Though.
Yes. Is that acceptable to the board, that we can kind of approach it as a condition of approval?
Well, obviously, that's something, I don't think any board member would disagree with that because we suggested it. But if you need it, you should ask for it. So if that's what you're asking for, that's fine. And that's part of our consideration.
We will ask for that as a condition of
That's fine.
approval, yes.
I mean, we can't tell you whether we like it, don't like it. It's a matter of that we mentioned it because we noticed there was a deficiency. And if you add that, that's part of our consideration of the approval.
Duly noted, yes. And I guess tying into that, we're going to say that we're also going to do a little canopy over the side, the proposed main entrance as well. Can we, just to kind of cover our bases?
It could be a canvas canopy, yeah.
Yes.
Like one of those little things with the flaps on the ends and, like a decorative canopy. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to
Sam,
protect the doorway area.
Wait,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that one's the one that's going to be facing Valley Road, right?
No, to the.
So yeah, we are, this,
No, but you're going to see it from Valley Road. I'm saying that one.
You gotta see the side of it.
The back one we're not going to see. The front one is going to be.
it's our west, the front one, we're not doing anything to that
Yeah.
facade. It's the west side entrance, west side entrance on the patio. not the
canvas
porch.
type cover.
You'd see the profile, you'd see a little triangle.
Or the angle.
If you're driving past here, maybe right when you pass the building, if you looked sharp right, you would see it at that point.
Okay, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is a covered canopy walkway is going to present as a different volume to Valley Road than an open.
No, you're not covering the whole walkway. you're
Oh,
just
no,
covering
no,
the
no, this is
door.
just that entrance door.
Just the door.
Yeah, just like a little 3x3 over the door.
Okay.
You know, so when you get under the door, you're covered, you know, like a little roof over the door.
Is this,
Standard with UCC for building permits. I'm not even sure that those need to be permitted. through the
Okay,
building code.
all right. Well, I mean, it's nice to know he's doing it, so we have a,
No, absolutely.
yeah.
this wouldn't affect impervious
No,
coverage?
this is
No,
all patio
it-
area anyway.
Yeah.
so
Well, it's not a permanent
already-
structure, it's just
Right,
screwed
but
onto.
as far as impervious coverage, this area is already proposed to be impervious, so putting a roof over something that's already impervious doesn't change, runoff or anything like that.
Any more questions as to this exhibit? Okay, you can,
Just
Yeah.
one other, sorry.
Yes.
Your accessible parking spot, is that gravel or is that paved?
That would also be gravel,
Okay, does our board engineer have anything about a gravel walkway for an ADA
It's-
accessible route?
No, I
This
don't
is one
think
of
so.
those sort of gray areas. If you can meet the slope requirements in gravel,
And-
meet the slope requirements, I would recommend highly that the path from the ramp to your ADA accessible spot, so your, what I like to call that hatched area where, somebody
Yep.
with a wheelchair would get in and out, I would extend the pavement through that area at a bare minimum.
Yeah, essentially the landing. Yeah, I know that the ADA definitely has
Right.
their sizes that they need for that entrance and exit out of the handicap vehicle that it has to be 9 foot wide, meeting on one side of the car.
So I would
But we
pave-
could certainly,
pave that and extend the pavement area so that the accessible route is clear and you don't have any slope issues in the future by, the gravel getting,
okay. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, as of right now, we were assuming that concrete would be starting here, but we will make sure that the concrete will.
and
Or
you can use
blacktop,
concrete
either one.
too. You can, it can
yeah,
be
blacktop,
right.
concrete, something smooth.
Right. And again, we are fully assuming that this is all impervious anyway, so
Yeah.
it's not like we're changing water flow in this
We're
area.
just worried about somebody getting stuck with their wheelchair or a
It'll
motor
just make a
vehicle.
safer passage and it'll, you're going through all this effort to put in this large ramp to get ADA
Yeah.
accessibility in the building, so,
And-
we should make sure that we have it all the way from the car door down to the building.
And
Not a big
just to touch on the gravel, there is a detail on a later page. We're not just tossing gravel out into a field. I think we're providing like 4 inches of compacted gravel. It's like an actual surface. Like grass is not going to be growing through it. It's an actual surface. All right, I'm going to move.
Gary, can you touch on, the town code regulates gravel the same way it would pavement, is that correct?
To my understanding, yes.
So when you looked at the drainage and the runoff, that all considers this gravel area
Fully impervious. Fully impervious.
There might be some
Oh,
degree
well.
of infiltration, that's not.
Yeah, that's a debatable topic. Yes.
But that's-
Certainly, gravel is inherently drains, but in terms of the code and in terms of our drainage calculations, this full area is deemed impervious.
And was there
so-
any reason why you chose to use gravel rather than pave it if it being the
Um,
same way?
Cost is certainly cheaper for the compacted gravel, and all of the Elks Lodge has compacted gravel as their parking area. I think the asphalt, it ends approximately here, that is all asphalt, and then it becomes this mass amount of gravel towards the rear.
So basically the end of that driveway entrance ends.
Exactly, yep.
And all the parking areas are
Yep,
gravel.
and hopefully, some of these photos will provide some, I'm gonna just do it, I'm going for it, turning the page. We can always come back. All right, before we go panel by panel,
Pick that up a little bit.
sure, sorry. But yeah, you can see here is this intersection. We have asphalt here. As we come up this hill, You can see that it's asphalt. You can kind of see some of the cracking in the asphalt, and then it becomes that mass gravel area towards the rear. One other thing that I believe you guys had mentioned was this mound on the right side. Again, that would be quite a change of that high slope area. But yeah, there's certainly that mound there, which again, it's kind of misleading. There is some sight line, east. But again, we will be putting that parking line down on the driveway there. All right, so hopefully some of these photos will help further clarify. We're just going to run through the panels. Again, let me know if any questions arise. Front porch, we are removing the stairs. We'll be closing off that railing. No one will be allowed to enter onto that patio, the front porch.
And there's no door there, so.
There might be an operable window for, since we are putting potted plants so Phil doesn't have to come all the way out and hop on to tend to any of the potted plants. There will be some level of operable window is being
But no
proposed
public
there.
would be.
100% no. It is very clear. You got to come in this doorway right here. We talked about it already, about some of the Morris County recommended curb that will be right along the edge of roadway here and curves up. You can see that there's just vegetation growing all over this building. It's a mess right now. There's a shrub growing into the building. This area on the west side, although it looks grass, is certainly a lot of gravel and debris, which then right now we are standing behind the building in this photo here. So essentially where the parking is, you're looking down where the ramp does its pathway, and then down this way is where the stairs are kind of coming down. And again, you can certainly see that there is some debris, but really that whole area is the crushed stone already.
That's going to be a parking right there.
Exactly. So it's not like we're going from this lush green area, it's gravel and debris, and there's stones in there. Kind of see some of the crushed stone into here as well. The rear of the building is completely overgrown. There is a door there, but no human can access it. It's completely covered in bushes. The doorway is not operable. It's very run down, this whole rear side here. We've already touched on this. This is looking pretty much at the Poplar intersection, looking that way. That again addresses some of the lighting issues there. While we're up at the top, this is the Elks Lodge building. Looking to the east, you can see that they have their parking, and that goes quite a ways that way. And then if we peel to the left, there already is this flattened parking area that has this crushed stone, which is where we are putting our formal parking area, which then will allow for the ramp and stairs to enter down that way. Is there any questions related to some of these photos or any of the previous questions that might be better elaborated off of these photos?
I have a question again, going back to the signal. If the board were to act favorably upon this application, would you agree to speak to or ask the county to evaluate whether the signal at this intersection should be upgraded?
100%, yeah, we can make that 100% a condition of approval, that I will put in a formal documentation, just to make sure that they are aware of the current traffic signals, just so that they weigh in on as required.
Because that driveway does line up with Poplar, so they could make that a four-way light.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it's not like we're...
Not quite.
Nice, a tough.
Quite, but yeah, close enough.
They can figure it out.
Yeah.
Purview to review the traffic counts on their
Sure.
road and evaluate their own intersection for potential upgrades. This does look like it's an older system, so it might be one that they're maybe looking at upgrading or modernizing a little bit as it is. One thing, Gary, that I would add on to that is, as part of that and talking about the line of sight, I think also, again, if the board views this favorably, is looking at the line of sight as you're exiting here, and potentially, I think we might need to move up that stop bar and that stop sign. It's very, very far into the intersection, which if you take your sight distance from there, you're probably going to be hindered by the building itself.
Okay.
So consideration probably should be given to moving up that stop
You
sign.
mean closer to Valley Road?
Closer to Valley
I
Road.
think
If you
Morris
look at
County
where it is
has-
now, it's almost 10 feet off the edge of the road, which when you do your line of sight, you look at where the stop sign and the stop bar is. It's not really realistic. Anybody's gonna go there,
Plus you have
gonna
that
pull up
hi-
another 10 feet.
Right,
so-
plus you have that hill to your left, too.
Correct.
Right.
So we can
I 100% understand.
location
Yep.
and see if we
I
can
will,
site
part
that.
of this correspondence with Morris County regarding the traffic will also be addressing, where do you want, like, let's just make sure our line of sight is accurate. I believe that was, we had to be that 10-foot back per, like, their requirements. They,
And that's fine if they want to leave it there, but let's take a look at that.
Yep,
and see
yeah,
the
I-
line of sight from there, if we need to do some additional clearing or, you know, a little bit of grading.
Little
just to cut
grading might,
down,
yeah.
Just to kind of open that up and improve the sight distance. I mean, what's there might be adequate, but it doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement.
Sure.
If you already have a backhoe at the site and you can just, you know, cut it down and grade it up a little bit further to improve that.
okay,
Again, you know, it's an older intersection that's probably in need of
yeah,
a little bit of improvement.
okay. Yeah, no, yeah, I hear you.
And along those lines, if you do speak to the county, please make them aware that on that one side, particularly facing east, when you're facing east trying to turn west, Valley Road at that point has a slight curve. And so you have a slight hill and a slight curve, and it is very difficult to see cars coming, and you don't have a signal telling you it's okay to go. So you can stick your nose out there.
So when you're facing south,
Correct.
Yeah,
When you're trying to get
facing
out.
yeah, going
Onto
west, when you want to go east.
Make a
Either way.
right turn.
Either way.
Yeah, I mean,
You're gonna get-
to the left.
Because if you're just presenting this to the county, they're going to see one thing, but I'm telling you, the experience of coming down that is a very
So
different
I
experience.
have presented the entire site plans, which does show the curvature of the roadway, and again, I will make sure that they are, you know, that's certainly something that we will make sure to present is the, yes, the curve that way. I understand what you're saying, limiting the sight line potentially further.
And the other thing to remember here is that while the Elks Club members may know how to navigate this intersection, people are going to be going to this restaurant for the first time that are unfamiliar with this.
That is a very good point. Yep, that is very valid.
People trying to get in and out quickly.
Okay. Any other questions on this issue?
Hold on.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I have a couple. So
Yeah, sorry.
that's
He's full
the
of
signal.
questions.
Regarding your ramp for drainage for water, is there any drainage at the bottom of the ramp, or are you intending to drain water towards the building?
Is it okay if we table that till we get to the drainage? I have a full drainage plan that shows the area drains.
Fine,
seepage-
we'll skip it.
Okay.
Okay, also in terms of your drawings, there seems to be an inconsistency on your front design. Some of the drawings are showing stairs and front doors, others are not, so.
Yeah, this piece of paper you just gave us shows the front door.
So that is the architect's preliminary, yeah, 1,000%.
Just ignore this.
Well,
Ignore the front door.
yeah, that
Ignore the
is,
stairs.
yeah, I apologize for any
Okay.
miscommunication there, but the goal was for that to just show, here's some of the
Mostly the
the
interior.
fans, yes, the interior, but for the final plan, we will of course make it abundantly clear. We are removing those stairs onto that front porch. There is no doorway onto that front porch.
Okay, and then in terms of the parking, just one last time, so the seating count, you require 6, you're providing 7. How many employees do you say you're gonna have? 3?
4.
4?
I think it was 4.
Three or four.
3? Okay.
Plus his family.
Right, so then I guess, Liz, maybe if, do we have to account for the employee parking in addition to the town parking?
No.
No, theoretically, it is taken into account with
Okay,
the.
so
with the-
we're covered there.
But I think also that the applicants testified that they
The Elks.
would stipulate that they would park, the employees would park at the Elks.
Okay, and that would be a condition, that would be a condition of approval? Is it-
Yep, yeah, we can make
Yeah,
that.
the 7 spots are just for customers.
Okay. Okay. And then, just for clarity perhaps from the board attorney, who would, in terms of the work that's shown in the right-of-way of Valley Road, obviously this board doesn't have jurisdiction, so who's responsible for that?
To the east side of the driveway, or to the,
On Valley Road, there's
On
one, the building's actually over the property line, and they're doing work out there.
on Valley Road, they would have permission from the Elks Lodge in front of the building right now, correct, council? Part of their lease, part of this application, they can improve in front of the building?
The Elks Club, I'm sorry.
No, in front of this building.
Yeah.
As part of their lease and part of their permission for this application is to improve between that building and Valley Road?
Correct, there will be some changes that were mentioned.
And I think the engineer said something about the county mandating that they do something, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main reasons why we are removing the stairs is the Morris County Planning Board required the removal of those stairs. There was some discussion about the removal of the porch, and they agreed to leave that porch as long as it remains an aesthetic feature with no access provided there. And then they also have their standard curb added, and then the no parking sign on Valley Road they wanted, which is like almost exactly here, and then this sign, which has nothing written on it, will be removed. That was one other thing that they wanted.
Right, so I guess, Liz, my question is, for the signage, and I'm seeing some signage work in the right-of-way, that signage is not subject to township ordinance because it's not our jurisdiction?
I don't, well, except I think, sorry, I think that the sign for the restaurant would be in your purview. I mean,
Well, there's like, I can see, for instance, there's a no parking sign that's
Oh.
right off the edge of the road. It's not on the property at all, so.
That's the county.
Yeah, that is the county, yeah. But if there was gonna be like a restaurant sign, I think that's in your.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that
jurisdiction.
yet, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so now that's another question, right? Now,
Okay.
you have a restaurant sign mounted to a building that's technically not on the property. So who's
mean?
responsible for this?
What do you, it is attached?
No, here. right?
No, it's gonna be on the,
Right here,
where's the
this
sign gonna
building.
be?
All right, well, I'm going to skip to the next page because that shows some of the sign
He
locations.
didn't say what the sign was.
And these are preliminary sign locations.
Before we get to the signs, I'm sorry, off the patio, there's steps that kind of seem to go down to the left towards the veterinarian,
Yes.
but there's no access there. I thought we weren't parking there, we weren't going down onto the other person's property, so why are the steps there?
For emergency, like secondary access, so that people in the building don't have to go run up the stairs to like come around or like hop over this concrete curb, but we need some access, the secondary access to get down onto Valley Road that way.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I ask you one more?
Yes, go ahead.
It's not necessarily from these pictures, but have you testified to the fact, I think you may have, because I think you alluded to it, as to why you need to put this entrance on the west side as opposed to the east side? Was it because of the slope on the east side, or what?
Yes, yeah,
Words in your mouth.
that is one of the main reasons. I believe I mentioned it, but just a real quick, there's a lot higher amount of grading and excavation and disturbance of high slope areas if we were on that east side. And there's limits, 1,500 square feet that you have to be below. If we did any kind of patio over here, we would be shot. Like that would, this is all high slope area, which is what we wanted to stay out of, which to the rear, and then a good amount of the east side, you can kind of see it here, it's not that full high slope area. And again, like the cost of leveling this area. Also, just utility-wise, it made sense to put everything on the east side. Again, if we're
The west side, right?
the kitchen on the east side, the entrance on
The
the
entrance
west
is
side.
on the west side.
And then, if we're talking about like protection, having the patio kind of like more secluded, it would be better since traffic is coming this way to be on the west side instead of like having the patio like on this side as you're like coming in here. It made more sense from a traffic protection to put it on the west side. Hopefully that answers your question.
Gary, can you clarify for the board in the record, you're not seeking a critical area disturbance?
Correct, and we can show that on subsequent pages, but yeah, we are, 1,500 is allowed, we are at 750 to 800 square feet. So that variance is
So
not
either
applicable.
way, had you put it on the east side, you would have had to come for a different variance as opposed to the side yard.
Right, yeah, and again, this is a takeout restaurant, cost is 100% a main factor. There is a lot more grading and retaining walls. There's already a good amount on there, but in order for us to like level this out would be quite an undertaking. Because yeah, I mean, you can see like that's 8-9 foot tall.
11 on your chart.
11, okay. Thank you.
How would everybody feel about taking a 10-minute break? 5 minute break, how's that? Let's take a 5-minute break, guys. We'll be back at 9.
Recording stopped.
back. All righty, back on the record. Back from the break. Go ahead.
Hold up. Roll call real quick.
Roll call? Okay.
Yes, let's have a return roll call. Okay. Again, Mr. Aronio is excused tonight. Mr. Giannakis?
Here.
Mr. Grosskopf?
Present.
Mr. Hayden?
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Here.
Mr. Lindeman?
Here.
Ms. Brennan is also excused tonight. Vice Chairman Johnson?
Here.
Chairman Correct?
Here.
We're still at a
Okay,
quorum.
we're here. Thank you.
All right, we will be moving on to some of the interior work. We've already touched base on a good amount of this. So first, we're just going to go over the existing conditions, which tie into what we are proposing for the interior. You also have that preliminary plan from the architect, which shows a little bit more of the kitchen area refined with some of the fans and lighting locations. But yeah, so we are removing the second floor. We will be using the collar ties so that as you walk in, there will be a nice high ceiling, because right now it's 9 foot, it's relatively low, and it'll add some airiness to it. I think we'll be able to put some nice finishes on it, that it's going to have it's going to look bigger than it actually is. And right now, that second floor is not usable. Like, the floor is deteriorated. The bathroom hasn't been touched in a very long time. Even I can't imagine Mike was using it. Down into the first floor, there are some interior walls that are fully being removed. Again, this was a bearing wall, but that is not an issue as we are removing the full second floor. So the way to support the rafters is by adding these collar ties. The bathroom was previously in this corner here. We are moving it outside due to limited amount of space, and since we do have to maintain the ADA required space for there. What else to touch base on? We are proposing to demo the chimney with the venting being off the rear side of the roof back there.
How is the heat, what's heating the building?
It's radiators?
Right now?
Yeah.
But what's going to be heating the building?
I think we're gonna, I don't think we
believe it's
have.
going to be forced air.
HVAC system?
I believe so, air conditioning and heating.
Yeah, so I think we can achieve that with wall units. Again, this is a tiny space that.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. Where's that going to be?
Yep.
Is that going to be hanging in the wall or outside, or is there any units outside?
Yeah, so I think we're gonna have to have a wall unit potentially off of the rear. But again, I don't believe that should factor into the approval aspect.
Well, respectfully to the chairman's point, if you do need condensers that have to go outside the building, that is within our
That's a
purview.
pad.
That's something
So 100%, we will not need a separate. We will use wall units. The exact location of those wall units, we will have to communicate, and certainly communicate with the architect to make sure that
when
we
you say
are
wall unit, you're talking about a split unit, or you're talking about like a window unit?
a split heating AC off of the wall.
Okay, but a split still has an outside component that needs to go onto a pad or something.
No, not
It
necessarily.
does.
There was one in the Pizza Hut, pizza mill over in Millington. It was just sitting in the wall, and it just.
Yeah, it's like a-
No,
Two by-
I understand that, but if it's a typical Mitsubishi, like I have at my house,
Yeah.
there's the one that you see on the wall, but there's also another one on the outside that does the heat exchange.
They also have one that are combined, that's
Yeah.
just on the wall.
Right, but we need
There's-
to understand what that is now.
Right,
if we-
right,
so
that's
that
true,
we-
yeah.
on
Is there-
site plan approval.
Yeah, I mean,
Because if it's
I-
on the front of Valley.
I don't see much space, wall space for one, because out the back you're having the bathroom and that storage and
We'd
the
have to
and the
put
freezer.
something off of.
And then on the other side, you've got the vent and the hood for the stoves, and in the front, that would, I mean, it's a question of where do you put that on the wall? There's not much wall space there.
And you don't want it on your patio.
Yeah. I mean, again, that section of the patio does have some room for utility space, but I think we're going to need to select a system with the architect that will utilize minimal footprint to the so we're not actually doing exterior work. But again, we can stipulate that as a condition of approval, that we will, on subsequent plans, make sure that we are providing the final design for the heating and AC as clearly we have not fully laid that out right now.
Right, but if you want a pad, you gotta let us know. I mean, I'm just saying that, you know, right now, we see no physical way of heating and cooling that building, other than the heat from the stove.
Yeah, that's good enough.
And opening the back door.
Right, but, you know, I mean.
Well, we do have the fans are presented above, so that'll provide some airflow. So yeah, we certainly could put some, like over this addition of the bathroom, that could be something where we could put some small unit up top there that we would not need a,
Well, if you're taking out the second floor, how about where appears to be an air conditioner sitting in the window up there on the one picture that you gave us, on the patio side, in the peak, near the peak of the building.
yeah, so,
In the picture.
yeah, up top, yeah, that's,
Right.
There is some wall space available. Again, we are
There is wall space available there, right?
But it would have to be higher up. And, on the peak right there, yeah.
and again, I wanted to, further emphasize this is a cooperative process, and I do appreciate these good suggestions. But yes, I think that is a very good idea, that we have available space above that doorway where there's currently an AC unit. And then on the far side as well, we have that same space that, again, that could provide for further space for us to have these wall units.
As long, I mean, the thing we're concerned about is any need or use for a cement pad would have to be shown on a plan. If it's strictly on the building and strictly coming a wall unit on the building, it's not taking up any space on the ground, and therefore, I don't think that we wouldn't need to, that wouldn't require any kind of variance or any kind of increased impervious surface. Okay.
And also the addition for your ADA bathroom, that's gonna have a flat or semi-flat roof that.
Right, that could certainly be an area, but yeah, as a more,
Semi-sloped,
Semi, yeah, it'll
yeah.
have a little pitch to it, but,
Flat roofs aren't good.
but yeah, the condition of approval will be to fully lay out the heating and AC components, utilizing the area above the bathroom if we do need it, but with the main goal being using the high side of the east and west walls.
Just to follow up on that, if a unit is put on the roof of the restroom, then I imagine this board would be interested in screening how that looks on Valley.
Yeah. If you can even see it, but
So
yeah.
that bathroom would be here. Again, this is a tiny space. It would be a tiny additional unit that would be on there that we would grade it so that we would not have it sticking off the top where we would need to shield it. Essentially the existing ridge would be enough shielding that we would position it accordingly.
potentially maybe on that building addition, if you had to put a little parapet that extended a little bit
Sure.
further up to further
Yep.
block it, would that be, amenable to the applicant?
Yes, that's another good idea.
So the parapet would be the shield.
And again, we're not talking about an elevator shaft that's gonna extend 7 feet above the top of the building, this, maybe 2 feet, and if you have an 18-inch parapet, you're gonna see very, very minimal of the equipment. If any, depending on the slope.
Okay.
So this would be subject to your approval, Samantha? Reasonable?
Yeah.
Good faith?
As long as the board doesn't want to see anything in more detail this time. I think that's something that can be certainly worked out and looked at.
Although the second floor is going to be demolished, you're going to keep the same roof line, correct?
Samantha, could you pull that mic closer to you, just so that we can get you on?
Or I'll talk closer to it, that's probably better.
Well, either way.
Thank you.
Okay, so just sure we touched on this. Again, the kitchen layout not 100% finalized at this time. We're working with George Callis of Mediterranean Restaurant Equipment.
But the idea is it's going to be totally to the right-hand side of the building.
Exactly, yep.
The
With keeping the
east side,
main
and-
cooking equipment on
And the
that
west side is
east-
going to be for the tables and
Yep.
takeout.
Yep, exactly. Okay, and this is a good opportunity to talk about some of the sign aspects. 100% a condition of approval. That's because we're still working out the design and the aesthetic. Phil, I don't know did you have some sign that you wanted to potentially present right now, or
Going to be as in,
like the logo?
Hold one of
or-
those mics closer to you when you're talking.
So, again, this is a working concept, but we are proposing a small 2x2 sign off of the front, very minimal extension out, few inches on the front.
On the Valley
Yes.
Road side.
Correct. Again, another sign directly over the door.
Don't use the word front, because right now, the actual entrance is gonna be to the left, so. Use the side and Valley Road side or south
I
side.
apologize. Yes, the south Valley Road side will have a small sign, another small sign off of the west side. And again, these are preliminary locations. Will be 100% a condition of approval to submit all sign layouts, the logo, the full sign,
The lighting
application.
is gonna be exterior shining onto the sign,
I would imagine that we will keep them illuminated. And
because you can't have interior illuminated signs, only exterior.
okay. So that's the general logo, and a good amount of this area has those kind of standing wood signs that we are proposing to have something that kind of matches the aesthetic as well. That's kind of in this space right here.
What is that?
Gary, will all these signs comply with the township's sign ordinance as far as size, height? You're not seeking any variances related to
No
these signs?
variances. These will be 100%
Fully
matching.
compliant?
Yep,
And any further submission of that would document fully
yep.
conforming signs?
Is there any issue with the front of the building being beyond the property line and the sign being there? Is that any issue with that?
So the sign itself is proposed to be building mounted, correct?
Correct.
So it's, depending on which corner of the building it's
Well,
on, it might
it's
be in
not-
the right
So that
way.
is a very good
We have
point.
the one on Valley. The
Yeah.
one on Valley,
We
the
kind of
entire front-
lose,
The entire front of the building, if I understand from the site plan, is
Is in the
not
right of way.
on the property, it's in the right of way.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
as you get to this corner, it's certainly less. But yes, in theory, that would be in the Valley Road. The inches of thickness of signage would be into that space. But again,
But it's not going to be on your
we're
patio.
putting potted plants on this porch that we have demonstrated to Morris County as well, that is clearly further into the right of way than the sign aspect.
No, I understand that, and perhaps this is a question for the board attorney. Is it in the board's jurisdiction to approve the frontage of the sign if the front of the building is not on the property?
Yes,
Because it's attached to the building, right?
correct.
And I'll just note, in the drawings that were, or the images that were handed out, you can see Mike's had a projecting sign
yeah.
that was clearly
Yeah.
into the right of way.
So
Yeah.
the sign will be flush to the building, not sticking out?
Correct.
So there's a total of how many signs on the property?
We have 2 building mounted, the wooden standing sign in the grating outside.
Okay. And
Which would be on the side of the driveway.
Correct.
And what is the wood sign?
Again, these are
monument
very
sign?
preliminary location sizing, but this whole stretch of Valley Road has these wooden standing signs. I believe they're like 3 foot wide, 3 foot high. I mean, if you drive down, this building is very close, and the whole stretch all has those wooden signs.
Yeah, Mark's Auto,
Yeah, the Elks Lodge has a very similar sign.
is that required
what's,
for that particular sign to be like that, the wooden sign into the ground? Because everybody has them. I'm not sure whether or not they're required.
There's sizing requirements,
Yeah,
height
yeah,
requirements,
yeah.
stipulations. The material itself
is not required.
is not a
Yeah.
requirement other
Mark's
than
is
not
not
being
wood. It's-
internally lit.
It's that,
It's just a
that
style.
fiberboard stuff.
It's probably just a style that's, been consistently used over
Yeah.
time and,
So you could do a place without that particular sign being in the ground like that, and you just have your signs on top of your place?
Are you saying is a ground mounted sign required?
Right.
No, it's
No.
not required.
No.
Right.
You don't need to have a ground mounted sign now.
Right, because I tell you, if we have that particular sign and it's further up into the driveway and you don't really see it from going from west to east, because the building is in the middle, and you only see it for a little bit just when you reach up to it and by the intersection there, you might not even need to be there. We just go with the 2 signs on either side of the building.
Yeah.
And I would
That might
just-
be a point. That sign might be useless, if people wouldn't see it from Valley Road.
I would just caution that if you ask for the sign now, you'll have the approval
Right.
for its location. If you don't ask for it now and decide in a year that you want to put it there, then you
Yeah,
have to
it's a
come
good
back
point.
for
That
another site
we're going to
plan.
show these, if we end up going with 2 versus 3, then
It's
that's,
easier to take it off the plan
Right.
than
Good
add it
point.
back
Or
on
not
there.
use not use the approval, then not have it.
Yeah.
so I think that is it that I really wanted to touch on with this. I believe I'm going to move to the next page unless anybody has any questions.
Go ahead.
About the sign we were just speaking of, if it's gonna be along that driveway, it would have to be out of the Valley Road right of way. It would have to be far enough back so that it
Correct.
doesn't encumber any.
Yeah, and I
Sight line.
do have a initial location shown. It is definitely
Further back.
15 feet up from the Valley Road right of way.
It's almost in the center of the building there.
Yep.
And that's fine, but things keep changing, so I just wanna make sure that it's part of the record, that it can't be 3 feet off of the road.
Sure.
For argument's sake.
Just before you move to the next, right, just a question on the floor plan. You had mentioned that you wanted the stair on the site plan so you could have a second exit out of the space in case of an emergency. If I'm looking at the plans here, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no way to get from the kitchen area to the front of house and vice versa? I don't see a path to...
Yep, so this is, again, preliminary on the architectural layout. They do show that counter is not all the way there. There will be access to get out that secondary means of egress.
Okay, so the counter's not going to be that close to the...
No.
And there's access for the kitchen people to get beyond the counter too.
Right, of course. Or at bare minimum, it would be one of those like lift up versions
doors.
there.
Okay.
There has to be access. This is, again, initial interior layout.
What's the proposed interior height now that we're removing that second floor? Was that not a full height second floor to begin with in the existing conditions?
So I believe the building height right now is like 20 foot or so. The first floor was 8 foot. Then I guess there would be an additional 7 foot would be at the actual ridge. So based on where we locate the collar ties, that obviously still has to be laid out. We would have a floor to ceiling of 12 to 13 or so. We'd be gaining at least 4 foot, but we can't go too high with those collar ties because that's what's keeping the roof from doing this.
And the amenities, like the hanging light fixtures and the hanging fans, about what elevation do those hang down to?
Just again, this is a small space. We're not having super dangling. It'll be recessed lighting with these fans that are very tight up top.
Thank you.
Are there going to be fans so you can circulate air?
Yes, yeah, we are showing that on the preliminary architectural interiors as well. All right, next is some of the site details. There's 3 main things that I want to touch on here. Some of the retaining wall aspect, the trash enclosure, and the high slope area disturbance. So the high slope area, per the land use section, I don't have that, 142.2, it'll site disturbance with the gross area of less than 1,500 square feet shall be exempt from the standards, which gets into the whole, if you have over 1,500, then additional variances are required. Again, we chose this location to not disturb this mounds. We're trying to, minimally impact any of those high slope areas. This little area here is all we're really touching of that mound slope. And then there is some higher slopes that are kind of present towards the southwest corner that by building the patio up, we're gonna obviously be impacting that.
Are any of these existing steep slope areas man-made? The code does not differentiate between man-made steep slopes and naturally occurring, but are any of these man-made steep slopes?
I mean, this mound, I would certainly imagine, was, not naturally occurring mound. Is that what you're kind of referring to, or?
Yeah, and also on the left side of the building, was there ever, I mean, we've seen in the photos and exhibits that you've shown a lot of remnants of gravel or maybe a driveway there.
So, yeah, the driveway certainly used to come up this space, like really in this little corridor of where we have the patio up, and that's how they connected into the patio, where, again, like all of the grading and debris is all man-made. Like, this area has been, previously disturbed, so we are, only disturbing on top of that already disturbed area anyway. Ties into the retaining wall aspect. To summarize, along the front property line, we have a 3 foot of retained height, then the 3.5 foot actual guardrail, which puts us at 6.5. The western patio retaining wall, the max height is 2.5. And then we do have some higher retaining wall heights towards this ADA ramp. It approaches 5. Something that came to light over the last few days via Samantha's report is, and I think you might have even had this discussion on a previous application from the last month or so, due to how you read the code, although the retaining wall is 3 foot and you're allowed a wall height of 4 foot along the front property line, due to that we are putting that 3.5 foot guardrail, that is technically the total wall height. So Samantha, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that then necessitates an additional variance of, we have a proposed 6.5 foot tall wall, again, grade is here, top of the curb, or the guardrail is here, so we have a 2.5 foot variance request for the front. As we come this way, we are allowed 6 foot of total wall height, so the 2.5, which is detailed here, 2.5 plus 3.5 is right at that 6. So really this variance is only here. And just to further confirm, we need the variance to be able to do any kind of a patio. Like if we were to have grade even lower, not only would it not make sense with where the finished floor is, but then all of the excavation would get even more substantial. It would push out even more into this high slope area. And again, we want to keep the patio further from Valley Road. We want it that 3 foot up, that, if we were even lower, we'd be closer to the, Valley Road grade.
So just to clarify, the variance request is for a 6.5 foot high wall plus fence or guide rail fence above the wall where 4 feet is permitted in a front.
Correct. So that is, do we have to formally request that, or is that a condition of approval that we would present that?
No, you'd have to formally request that as a variance.
Okay, so we are formally requesting that aspect.
Since you're requesting it, what would the front of it look like? Just plain concrete? Is it planned on being painted in blue and white, like Greek colors?
Right now, I believe the intent is for just the matching concrete. Again, we're not really changing the look of this brick building. We're not going to have flashy colors or anything like that. But there will be some finish to it. But again, it'll be largely the gray brown of concrete, kind of matching the front porch area as well. The Valley Road porch. That exposed concrete there would almost then you'd see that level of exposed concrete there as well.
Are all the retaining walls proposed on site? They're all concrete walls? We don't have any modular block or
Correct.
triple block or anything
Correct.
like that?
Yeah, we got some unique geometry. This ADA ramp is certainly necessitating concrete retaining walls for that, which has a whole another level of high expense to build that retaining walls around the ramp and all of the grading to maintain for ADA.
And is the limited disturbance less when you build with a concrete retaining wall than you would if you had to do a modular block or?
Based on where it is, but certainly, for this 5.5 foot tall wall here, you'd have to run GeoGrid into this side here, so you'd be excavating even further amount, whereas we can position the, kind of the toe and heel of the retaining wall to not have to extend as far back. You can kind of play around with the, how this footing actually looks. And again, this is the preliminary design for the retaining wall. And I know in Samantha's report, there was some comments about, presenting the design calculations. And again, that can be a formal comment or condition of approval to provide the retaining wall details.
All walls that exceed 4 feet in height would need signed and sealed structural calculations.
And that's my bread and butter. That's I'm a structural engineer, so yes, well, civil / structural, but yes, that is easily addressed.
Thank you.
Lastly is the trash enclosure. Phil's already touched on this. Shared enclosure. We have had conversations with the sanitation company to confirm the sizes. We have a 6 cubic yard for the trash, 4 cubic yard dumpster for recycling, and additional 96 gallon containers for food waste. And that, based on, calculations, we could have potentially gotten away with 4 cubic yards, including the restaurant use and the Elks Lodge, but for the sake of being a little conservative with the sizing, we went with the 6 cubic yards. Concrete block enclosure, we do have a roof for it. We have the concrete slab below them.
Open front or something?
It'll be a metal gate that we're showing for access.
Metal, like chain link metal or slats, or like we'd be able to see through it?
I think it would be more of an actual decorative panel that I don't think you'd actually be able to see in. It would be a relatively enclosed, trash enclosure.
So when they come to pick it up, they have to open the fence and then pull these or take them out of there? Okay.
I cannot speak on the exact
Well, there's going to be a roof. They can't just go in with the forklift
right.
and pick it up.
Well, I don't know if they, based on what dumpster actually comes, to be able to pull it out and then.
Right. That's what I meant. Pull it out of it and then put it back.
Yep. That I'm not entirely sure, but this is a very common trash enclosure detail that we will make sure that they are in agreement with how they have to get these in out. We'll put them on wheels as required.
Yeah, the only thing I'm concerned with is some trash places don't have gates or fronts to them. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but what normally might happen is the person running it, the garbage truck may not close those gates. He might just open it, take it out, put it back in and run away, and the gates will remain open, in which case they're useless if they're not closed. So do we need gates on the front or not? I mean, is that
then you
a
need get
normal-
into putting in landscaping in front of it.
I'm
and
just asking, is gates a normal thing? Because I've seen some of them are just the walls and the thing sits inside of a enclosure with no gates in front. I mean, what is it?
I'll pull up the exact code. It does say enclosed.
Okay. Well, does that mean gates or does that just mean 3-sided enclosed?
In my interpretation, that normally means a gate.
Okay, because I've seen them without, so that's what I was
Absolutely,
wondering.
and if the board, if it's not specified, it says enclosed, so.
Yeah, the only reason I'm saying is that
It's subject.
I could just imagine those gates not being closed. So it's almost like they're not there then.
It's definitely on the owner to make sure it gets.
100% on the owner's responsibility to make sure that it's locked, and whenever trash is brought out there, they will obviously need to be maintaining that they are closed adequately.
Or the gates get damaged by the truck or they constantly get banged into.
But yeah, that's it that I wanted to really touch on, those 3 aspects of the site.
It does say it shall be surrounded on 3 sides by a masonry wall or solid board fence if the open side of the enclosure is visible from a public street or from a public use area. A solid gate should be provided.
Okay.
And it is
So,
visible.
It is visible.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we're
I think if this was probably in the
Okay.
back of the building behind the Elks and you
Well,
had
it
to
is,
drive
but
all
it
the
is
way-
in the back of the building. It's
Yeah,
just not
but if you had to
behind
drive
the
all
Elks.
the way
Okay.
behind the Elks, you could probably get away with not
That's
performing
fine,
not putting
that's fine.
the
Just,
gate on it.
just make sure that that's monitored and closed, because I can just imagine what garbage trucks do to these gates.
So we're gonna have a solid block, trash enclosure, roof, gate in the front.
Correct.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to, I looked through the sign ordinance. A variance would be required actually to have a ground-mounted sign. They are
Okay.
permitted a wall sign, so I think that unless the applicant wants to seek that variance, which it may not, then.
Fine. I mean, well, like we said before, if you think you want it, get the variance now. You're free not to use it, but if you want it and you're
I
gonna
think
use
we
it,
should still-
now's the
still
time to
get
ask for it.
I mean, if you don't think that we need it, I think let's just go for the 2 building mounted signs.
Okay.
We're just
Two
gonna go for the
building
2
mount signs, fine.
building mounted
So we've
signs.
eliminated the ground mount, okay.
But you will need a variance to have the 2
That was my question.
ground-mounted signs. You're.
Or the
I mean,
2
Sorry.
building mounted.
You're only permitted one
Right,
building
okay.
mounted sign.
Oh,
They
okay.
can have the ground mounted?
They cannot, I'm sorry, that was
So
my
they can't have the ground
mistake.
mounted, and they
You
can
need a
only have
variance
one
for two.
building mounted sign.
So you want a variance for
Definitely
the
need,
second one?
definitely, we don't wanna only have one sign. We wanna have 2 signs, so.
Fine.
2 wall
Okay.
signs.
Okay, so we will formally request this secondary signage.
So which one you requesting the variance for? The one on the Valley Road side or the other one? Did you get one free and one you got?
That's a great question.
Just pick one.
We're gonna say the front is the variance, or no, we'll say that the front is the included one, the variance being on the side.
That's fine.
So the side is our variance sign.
West side?
Yeah, the west side.
Yes.
Yeah, which is actually.
It's not to call the front anymore.
I'm gonna keep mixing you guys up by saying which sides.
So it's-
Any other questions before? The last 3 sheets are relatively quick in my opinion. So,
Just one question for the variance for the 6.5-foot tall wall at the front facing, are you proposing any screening for that to mitigate its look from Valley Road?
not additionally, that, again, will be 6.5 foot up that, anybody driving past, I don't think we're gonna need additional height on top of that.
No, what he meant was,
If you're
in front
driving,
of it, it's
right in
gonna
front
be so much cement with the railing. Are you gonna have bushes or landscaping in front of the cement?
That would be into the right of way, so we're trying to minimize what we're doing in the Valley Road.
Right, but
of way.
what I think the board might be suggesting is if screening is desired, then that might be something that you'd want to take up with the county to see if they would approve that.
Yeah, I think, I don't think you've touched upon it yet, but you are proposing some landscaping in that area?
Yes, that is actually the next, that's in 2 sheets. But yes, we are proposing the trees along the western property line, the potted plants along the front, and then all vegetation being kind of, the grass essentially being replaced in this side here. Once they remove the stairs, just to replace that with the grass.
So if I'm hearing the opinion of the board, would the applicant be willing to resubmit to the county to show some additional landscaping just in front of that walled area and
By
see if
putting
the
like
county will
an additional bush, or is that essentially what we're?
Yeah,
kind of bring it around that corner?
to break up the
Break
look
up
of
the
a
concrete.
cement wall there.
Okay.
Well, clarification, the cement wall is 3 feet, right?
So
And
it's
6
3
feet?
foot and then 3.5 feet of additional concrete. So
Oh.
it's 6.5
It's
foot.
not a fence on top of the 3 feet, it's a 6-foot wall.
Yeah.
That's on the-
So it's just gonna look.
That's on the west side of the building?
Yeah.
So it's not.
Valley Road.
Yeah.
So
Did you mean that you wanted some bushes around, like as in landscaping?
Yeah,
Or
screen-
just some decorative thing to cover the wall?
I think we're talking about like vegetative screening from.
Okay, yeah.
I thought it was a wall.
Yeah, just-
yeah, that's a. So that'll be a
So it's
condition.
actually,
of-
the actual cement is gonna be 6 feet. Because originally you said doesn't include the railing, so I thought it was gonna be like
That's what I
3 or
thought
4
too.
feet of cement with the railing on top of
I
it.
apologize if I
Okay,
misspoke. Yeah, it's
you
the
confused
3 foot
us.
of concrete retaining wall, 3.5 foot of the actual guardrail. So you will see a 6.5 foot max. I mean, it's not, as you taper back, it's not going to be the full 6.5, but along that
guardrail
front,
made of?
Yeah, so you just said guardrail. Is it guardrail or is it masonry?
well, it's a concrete guardrail.
Okay,
Oh,
so it's a concrete wall.
Yep, so this concrete is just gonna, is it okay if I draw on this, or is that then necessitate this being an exhibit?
You can draw on it.
Yeah. you can-
Okay. So, yeah, here, I'll put a little stick figure. Okay, it's getting a little challenging to see, but that's
Okay,
that's
we got it,
that's
we
the
got it.
gist of
Okay.
it. That's at like our worst case scenario right here,
Okay.
where again we're showing it at 6 foot. It's 3 foot of where
Of the poured
where the
concrete.
people are going to be walking with an additional amount of concrete
Okay.
extending up.
So it's gonna, from Valley, it would present as 6 feet of concrete.
Right, and I think it's a good idea to put the additional bush, the vegetative screening in there, and that can be in a condition of approval to modify the landscaping plan accordingly and resubmit to Morris County accordingly.
Now, why do you need a concrete barrier as opposed to railing? That's what you want to say. I mean, could you not put a decorative railing instead of a concrete barrier on top of that 3 feet?
So just because of like how some of these retaining walls are like up and down, and like I think it would be easiest to construct to just have, you know, a consistent wall height that we would kind of maintain here.
And that would be part of the patio where people sit? Is that what you're
Yeah.
doing? Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
On Valley Road?
No, along the side. the
so
left
this
side.
this little curb or guardrail, excuse me, is around the entirety of
The entirety of it. Okay.
People are
Yes.
sitting
You
inside a
just drew the-
concrete wall.
I mean, it's 3.5 foot tall. I mean, we could certainly put a, you know, metal gate so people could see out onto Valley Road if
No,
that's what's
it's
preferred.
just, I think we weren't comprehending what you were saying. So basically, it's the patio which has to be built up and leveled. And then on top of that, you're having this like barriers like you see on a highway with the.
I mean, yeah, there will be some more aesthetic to it, that it's
But I
not just
mean,
your, yeah.
Essentially, it's another cement structure that comes in precast and put on top of it.
That is a very key word, being precast, correct.
As opposed to doing iron railing or aluminum railing on top of that.
I mean, that's certainly what we will be, you know, again, if we wanted to pull it back and do more of a metal, you know, we certainly could. But this, I think, is the more, you know, what we're requesting for this, certainly this wall height. I think it's beneficial to ask for it to be concrete. And again, I think just the way that the grade works, it makes more sense to do the concrete, like as you go up the stairs for it to like, so I think we're gonna stick to the concrete for now.
Okay. I mean, I'm glad you explained that because we were getting a little confused whether it was concrete, whether it was a railing, or what it was, so.
But you drew on top of this 6 foot, so it's 6 foot plus what you just drew?
So that would be only in this area over here. And really, that wouldn't even be the case.
You drew on top of it.
Yeah, right.
So that 6 foot, and really it's 5.5 feet, is only on this side here. And we wouldn't actually need to go the additional 3 foot up from there, because that, if you have your wheelchair here with the 5.5 foot, that'll essentially be your guardrail.
So along the front, it's only gonna show along the western side where that yellow car is parked, it's only gonna be looking like a 6 foot cement wall.
Correct.
It's gonna pour cement plus that precast thing on top of it.
Sure, yeah, the exact aesthetic will,
So that's why I think we would need to have some sort of a bushes or some sort of
yeah,
small.
no, I
little
think that's
tree
definitely
there
a condition of approval.
to make that
to
look like
request.
less than the Berlin Wall.
Sure. Again, this is not a 60-foot long wall. This is a 9-foot wall. But yes, I think it's an easy enough condition of approval to show some additional shrubbery right there and make sure that Morris County is acceptable with it.
And the same applies to the Valley Road side, correct?
Yeah.
That's the one we're
They'll do
talking
that and then around the corner.
Well, the Valley Road sign, you're not gonna see that cement, because that's just a,
Well, no, he's talking about this. Just so we're clear, the variance is for the front yard. It's for the wall facing Valley Road on the side, on the
right,
side.
on the
of the building.
side.
Yes,
Right.
because
It's here.
He's
That-
gonna
that's
leave
the-
that,
my wall is
They have
allowed
to-
there.
you're gonna leave that metal railing along the front.
The front porch is remaining as is, yes.
Yeah.
We're not replacing that with concrete.
Just
That's gonna be as is.
It's here.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay, so now we got you.
Excuse me, Chairman?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Are we allowed to kind of ask what the thing is going to look like, not just an overhead shot, and have a artist rendition of what this thing looks like? Because I think there seems to be a lot of questions about how it presents itself on Valley Road.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing that.
there does seem to be a little bit of a question.
I mean, a lot of applications before us have some
Yeah,
sort
have
of rendering of what
a
it
color
looks like.
rendering of what it's gonna look
Yeah,
like.
this is also a 24 by 28 tiny building that we have to have cost 100% in mind with.
We understand that,
Yeah.
but the fact, what
Yep,
Gary
so-
was bringing up is that it would have been very helpful if you would have given us, or can give us, a finished rendition in somewhat of a color length.
Yep.
You know, take one of these photographs and do it up and change it so that we could see what the wall would look like.
Yep, and that is actually something that Samantha put in her report, that, yes, we can provide as a condition of approval, additional.
Yeah, that might have to be before approval, because it's rather, you know, you're doing a lot of pouring of cement, you're doing a lot of changes to that left side there along the front and along the back, and it's kind of very conceptual at this point, you know.
And I would add too, I mean, we're getting past 10 o'clock now, so
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna wrap things up
No,
tonight.
no.
So I would think that, you know,
You're gonna be coming back
understanding that
again,
this is coming
Yeah.
back, that I think-
because we don't want to shortchange the planner.
Right.
You know, it's,
And I think if I'm correcting, it's really what we're looking for is an elevation view, looking at the building.
Yeah.
Right, I
Looking
mean,
at the-
renderings are a little bit more
Looking at
expensive
the
than
side of the building.
elevations. We can definitely provide elevations that show colors.
But
Add some
but
colors
also
and
looking-
things in the elevations.
but also a color rendition of what it's gonna look like, because this is a significant change to what's there. Albeit a very nice change, it's a
Yeah.
significant change, because this, as you said, is not a pleasant sight. But at the same time, it is a extensive change. It's a lot of material, a lot of things you're putting on that property.
Yes.
And just the
We
mere
don't know what it looks
confusion we had with that wall indicates that it would be nice to see something that's a little bit more concrete, pun intended, so that we can actually visualize it and see what it's gonna look like to the public, what's it gonna look like when it's finished. We've seen that from other applicants, where they come with a nice little plan and say, this is what our house is gonna look like, this is what the wall's gonna look like. It's gonna, I mean, obviously, it's a little more money, but it's well worth your time and our effort to see it, because, you know.
Yeah, I definitely hear you. Again, this is a 9-foot stretch.
Yeah,
but
and maybe, you could finalize some more of the inside and where your air conditioning and heating unit's gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, some of these conditions of approval
Yeah,
can be presented.
because that
Yeah,
way.
if you're saying that we have to push them, yeah, that's.
You have to come back anyway. You know, I mean, the board, from the questions I'm hearing from my board members, there's a little bit of confusion, there's a little bit of questions as to how things are gonna be, because without showing us your heating and ventilation system, we have no idea what it's gonna look like, or where it's gonna be. You know, you could have said, well, I want it on the roof, we don't know, or you want it on the side of the building, or you want it on the bathroom. Where is it gonna be? Where does it work better? Maybe it doesn't work in the bathroom, maybe it works better on the peak, but how's it gonna look and how's it gonna work?
Okay, yeah, we can certainly provide that.
So
I certainly can finish.
yes, yeah, I anticipate finishing, yes, with
Okay.
you.
So that, like, the next hearing, it'll just be me presenting the
Right, the
modifications.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Because, yeah, actually, these last few will ideally go quickly. But this is the soil erosion control plan. I don't even know if we really have to dwell on this much. This is just, providing where the silt fence is going to go, some of the constructability aspects of it.
Are you required to get a Morris County soil erosion study?
Yeah, so originally, Morris County Soil Conservation District, anything below 5,000 square foot of disturbance, you could get away with the letter for non-regulation, essentially not a full soil erosion control plan. We're over that, albeit, slightly. We do have to go for that. And I have been in correspondence with the Soil Conservation District. and they are fully aware that we're at this 5,600 number. We just need to provide, like, once we have the final layout, what is the, the final layout for the sill fence. Is there any questions on the sheet?
I do have one. Just maybe if it's for you, Liz, or we've had a lot of discussions about work in steep slope. Is there a variance needed for that?
No.
Okay.
No, they're exempt.
Okay.
Yeah. 1,500 square feet, they're at about half of that, so they're
Okay.
well under
Also,
which is-
when you're coming back, maybe you'd want to show us a little more detail on the signs. What the size of them and the color and what they're going to look like and how you're going to like them.
And at the end, I'm just going to run through the conditions of
Yeah.
approval, and certainly we're going to do our best to address all of them,
Yeah,
like
because
prior.
that would be, especially since one of them needs a variance, we'd like to see what it looks like.
Sure.
While you're changing the drawing there, if you can just go back to my question I asked a while ago about water drainage on the ramp. Are you draining water towards the building, or what are you doing with runoff on the ramp
We're
itself?
so close,
Ah.
so close to that. So close, like the one after this landscape.
Landscaping plan. So we'll briefly touch on this. Again, clearly we've discussed the modifications. Line of trees shielding this side. Again, albeit that we are using the concrete wall, the guardrail here, it is largely going to be, visually protected by those trees. We're going to put the proposed, bush directly here.
Or bushes, depending on how.
Yeah, we'll lay that out. We have the potted plants in that Valley Road porch. We're calling for flower boxes along that as well. I think that's even what Mike may have had. That's really it. Again, we have a very limited amount of space that we can do any landscaping. So as such, we are presenting that level of landscaping. Are there any landscaping related questions before we get to drainage?
Move on, quick.
Alrighty, the drainage. It has been designed to, maintain that runoff rates of the zero net increase. Just a general summary of how we designed it. We have several area drains, 1, 2, 3, located in the patio and actually directly outside of the patio. And then these 2 additional seepage pits that are all tied together to maintain this zero net increase. The way that we calculated it, we utilized the rational method, and as one condition of approval that we can certainly tweak our calculations just to make sure that we meet the modified rational, which again, this is a tiny area, a tiny amount of additional increase in impervious, because again, this is all like essentially compacted gravel that people are parking up here. There's debris everywhere, and we weren't even really including all of the gravel and debris here. So this is largely an impervious area where we're, again, the compacted crushed stone gravel parking here, and then, the newly impervious there.
I think our main concern is that you don't put water onto the veterinarian property, because that's your neighbor. So you propose to have it captured and stay on your property in the seepage pits? Or?
Yep, that is exactly right. And, if needed, we could certainly modify some of the grading in this parking to ensure that, even if we needed to add an additional trench drain or area drain just to make sure that there's no water flow that's coming this way. But we did lay it out that this should be sufficient for this amount of moisture here, that then the remaining area drains in the seepage pit, kind of addressing the rest of that there.
So just, I guess my follow-up question on this. So if I'm looking at your grading plan here, that your high point is close up at 235, you're sloping down towards your 88 parking spot, which is the entrance to the ramp, at 232. Water's going to sheet down that way, and then you're going to bring it onto the ramp and have it come down to the patio?
Oh, where's that drain, where's that spot that is on, Where's that spot that's gonna capture?
So Brian, you're kind of describing like this water flow into this spot here?
Yes.
Yeah, certainly we could tweak it to put an additional trench drain here just to ensure, make sure that we don't have that flow. Again, the grading will ideally get that water towards the seepage pit here, but as we go through the exercise of modifying, tweaking some of our drainage calculations in areas, we can certainly investigate whether it would be beneficial for an area inlet or a trench drain here, just to kind of satisfy your question.
And I think just to further on that, in my letter, there's several comments that are related to the drainage. And I mean, overall, the idea here is in line with the ordinance, but on a technical level, it doesn't strictly meet the ordinance. For example, when you have a minor site plan such as this, if you have soils that can infiltrate, you have to design for 4 inches of rain over the increase in impervious surface. We have a site here that does not infiltrate. The soils are in poor condition. They're, I believe they're categorized as D on this site, which is the worst of the 4 categories. So that is why he has to tweak the design, not just for 4 inches increase over the impervious area, but rather use the modified rational method in order to calculate it. So this drainage layout, and I also had some questions on making sure the areas that drain to the dry wells are appropriate and things like that. So I would say this is not, final. We still need to tweak this, and because you will be coming back before the board, I would ask that, if you could work on that and get this further along so we can kind of look at that in a little bit more detail and the board can see closer to what the final design is going to be. Again, it's still going to be something very similar with these inlets and things like that, but there might be a couple more
the area drains and then the 500-gallon seepage pits. But yeah, certainly tweaking, and we don't have to get overly technical about the soil testing to maintain like infiltration and all that, and but 100% we will be further looking at, again, limited amount of time to review the comments from last week.
We're also worried about, if you have water drainage and it sits in any spot, in the winter it's going to ice up. So we want to avoid any water that's going to puddle or sit on cement, because you're going to have an ice patch there. Yep. So any way you can avoid and get your water off the patios into underground drains and out, that would be helpful.
100% agree.
Because you do have a lot of cement walkways and a lot of areas that are going to ice up if you don't drain it.
No matter if we have like an area drain over the entire thing, we're going to have to be throwing salt out there to make sure that it doesn't ice up.
You don't want to make it where it's automatically going to sit there.
No, 100%. We will maintain that. And that we actually do have some retaining wall drains that like further helps get some of the moisture behind some of this down into the. But again, we don't have to dive into that. We've established that there will be some tweaks here.
One of the additional comments in my letter as well was like an enlargement of the ramp design, and that's to verify the slopes for ADA compliance, but also for grading and drainage purposes. Of course, the ramp will have pitch to it, so water will be moving down this, so it will be looked at if he needs to have another inlet intermediate somewhere on this ramp. So again, you don't have water kind of following this like a little puzzle down, because you can see the thought process there. So maybe one like midway in between, and again, that's just to capture the runoff. Yep. So.
Yeah,
we have been, privy to these very intense, short duration storms lately. So, we want to try and capture that, so it's not just coming right down that.
Yep.
That
we will definitely provide further details. Again, we don't have time to really get into the nitty gritty of it, but yes, we have laid this out to maintain all of the ADA. I think it's section 5.8 about the slope of at 8% being the max allowable, the landing sizes, the widths that But we will blow that up in further detail.
As our engineer said, it's nice to see that in a blown up form, so we can.
Yep. Again, the goal is that we're certainly going to put this work in to have all the comments addressed, with the approval being granted that we're not
we
putting in all
understand
that
that.
time.
We can leave some of the details to the engineer, but in order for us to give a fully educated decision, we need information.
Okay. Any other drainage questions before we get to the last sheet?
No, I don't think so.
Alrighty. So this is the lighting, actually, utility plan as well. Briefly summarizing, we have 4 pole lights proposed in the parking area, 1 pole light directly adjacent to the patio, 1 light attached to the building. Samantha had some comments, rightfully so, about just making sure in the notes it's very clear that we're not going to like point those lights.
Right, they're down pointing.
Yeah, that these Isolux patterns that we're showing are the true extent of those lights. And clearly, we're right on Valley Road. There is plenty of ambient light. There's a there's a street light over here. The ShopRite has a light like right over here. The lighting of the interior. There's a utility pole, maybe 20 feet north, that has several lights on top of it.
Well, I think our main concern is for lighting, especially this close to Valley Road, is we don't want anything that's glaring in someone's
And
windshield.
that's another beneficial reason to leave this mound, is that mound certainly is going to be kind of shielding some of these lights.
Right, that mound. But I mean, just to make sure that any lighting, especially on signage, doesn't glare on the roadway and doesn't cause a glare issue.
All right, so that's the lighting. We'll briefly touch base on where we're at with the utilities. We've been in contact with American Water. They've been out. They confirmed that our 4-inch lateral is acceptable towards the 8-inch diameter sewer line. The key thing being that we are not adding any additional cuts into that sewer line. Just to summarize the change in flow, originally there was a bathroom sink, a toilet, and a slop sink in this small building. There's going to be a bathroom sink, a toilet, and a 3-bay kitchen sink. There is a minimal change, and really the amount of, sewage water was substantially higher back when the, 4-unit apartment building was right here. So they've given us like clear approval, like, descale that line and go for it. Obviously, we have to go for the formal, service application, which we will do in the coming days, which also ties into the water service. Again, they said that the service was cut off 3 years ago. It's adequately sized to provide for the 2 or the 3 water fixtures.
Is that the same water line that used to feed the apartment?
So it's actually on a separate branch.
It's a separate branch.
Yeah, but again, we have we're not like building a whole,
Right. Your usage of water is not going to be.
It is negligible change. But again, that will be presented in the service application. Gas, we contacted PSE&G in late February, early March. They will be coming out to formally locate and cap the line. They've indicated that service has not been present for several years. The electric, we've been in contact with JCP&L. They confirmed that electrical service was shut off December 2015. They will be coming out in the very near future, potentially even on Thursday, to perform their formal demo letter, and at that point also locate the.
1 second, Deborah, that microphone's flashing red. Does that mean it's
That
going
means it's dying.
dead?
I've talked too much into it. I apologize.
It's still working right now.
It's still flashing, yes.
It's still flashing.
Okay.
Finish up quick.
Yeah.
Okay, but all utility aspects will be confirmed on the final plan and confirmed by the mechanical contractor as appropriate. Based on when this next hearing is, we may have further information from all these utility companies to present as well.
Do you have any issues with the electrical and plumbing and things like that? Or?
No. My main question and concern was regarding the water and sewer flows and capacities.
Okay.
But as demonstrated on the plans, the existing flows, which included the previous 4-unit building that was there, plus Mike's Music, is greater than the proposed use per the NJDEP code of how you come up with those projected flows. And New Jersey American Water has agreed to that, so it sounds like, the sewer ban is not an issue for them, that they do have the existing capacity that they need at
So
this
you
site.
got lucky there used to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been a slight increase from the other one, so it's possible
It was certainly
they would have
beneficial
allowed it
for a
without
multitude of reasons, tying back to the drainage and,
Yeah. Any questions of the board of that issue?
That issue, no.
Okay. All right, well, are you pretty much done with your?
Do you want me to just summarize what I think needs to be provided?
Sure, why don't you do that?
Really quick.
Yeah.
formally putting on there about the variance related to the front, well, the sign, yes, and then also the fence, or the
You said
wall,
the
the
front
wall
one was
height.
gonna be in the non-various, variant one, and the side one was gonna be,
Yes.
well, I'm sorry, the south one was gonna be the non-variant, variance.
Yes,
and,
the
west side.
secondary on the west side will be the variance sign. The other
And
variance
showing the
related
lighting on the
to,
sign and showing the
Yep.
size and the
ideally,
color.
yes, we will have that all
Yeah.
squared away. So then just running through, revising the variance, just to demonstrate that, it's really, I guess in theory, for this small area, the variance is actually 3 foot, not 9 foot. Presenting the canopies on there, the more of a concrete or asphalt for the landing for the ADA space.
Pavement in that area, right?
Correct, yeah, something more substantial than gravel, that's fine.
The
Contract.
signage or gate on the stairs for the patio?
Yep, I do have that, but I will.
Yeah, so that it looks like it's not an entrance that people are gonna use.
Yeah, it has that, but,
Mr. Chairman, did we actually talk about a gate for that stairway?
We mentioned something potentially, some way of indicating to people that it's not an entrance.
I remember.
Potentially, you could put a gate there saying, exit only,
yep, yeah, no,
or whatever.
that's the
yeah.
plan, we will certainly present that.
Yeah.
More contractual evidence between the Elks Lodge and Phil about any overflow parking, additional parking.
And employee
usage.
parking.
And employee parking, correct. Make sure that Morris County has, evaluated all of the traffic aspects, sight lines,
Right.
et cetera. Heating and cooling, making sure that we don't need a pad, whether we're
And
using.
show us where it's gonna be.
Yep, more,
Detail.
yep.
The landscaping on the front.
The signage, the landscaping in the front.
I shouldn't say front, south side. Doing the same thing, sorry.
I don't even want to know how many times I misspoke and called the front, Valley Road.
Yeah, Valley Road side.
The presentation from the architect to provide more colored elevations and/or renderings to give more of like the interior and exterior, so we know what's kind of going on a little bit further. And then, some of the other aspects of Samantha's, more technical aspects about the drainage and that side of things as well.
Okay, good. Is that to your memory, everybody?
We're doing the garbage enclosure.
Oh, yeah, the garbage enclosure, to see
Gates.
if you're gonna, right.
I'm
show
pretty
us
sure we need gates, but
Yeah, but
we
give
can.
us a rendition of that, what it's gonna look like, so we have an idea of the size, the structure, and exactly.
You have it?
They do?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, but is it, well, okay, if that, you did do it, but just let us know if that's the way it's gonna look, or, confirm that. But also maybe give us an idea of what the color might be, or what the shape, that's just a drawing, but maybe you wanna give us a little bit more of an idea of what it's actually gonna look like.
Maybe just like the manufacturer cut sheets, like if you know who you're gonna get the fence or the gate from. A lot of times you can get their brochures and
Yeah,
color.
just let us know what aesthetically it's gonna look
Right.
like.
So, is there any way that we could have the planner potentially, do her initial presentation in the hope that
Not in 5
she
minutes,
doesn't
you're
have
not.
to come back, that only I have to come back? For,
No, she's gonna have to come back.
Okay.
Because the planner is gonna be a lot of questions for that, so I can she's gonna have to come back.
All right, it was worth asking.
No. What's the next date they can,
May 3rd.
May 3rd? Is that
So
okay for everybody?
All of April is.
All of April's already full. Yeah.
Well, that's gonna give you enough time to get all
Yeah,
that other
based on
stuff
what I'm
done.
hearing too.
Yeah, you're gonna need the time,
You're gonna need
probably.
some time. And then we have 2 residentials we have to get done.
Ms. Planner, is that good for you? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, again, we have to be very cost conscious, that hopefully these
No,
comments are
let me put it
not
this
killing
way.
this application,
We
because
do
again, we
not
do want.
We don't want to increase your cost. At the same time, we want to make sure that you get what you want, and you get what you're asking for, because we've already seen things that you haven't thought about, like maybe the heating and cooling, you haven't thought about a few things, and that's part of our job, is to make sure you get exactly what you're gonna be used, and you're gonna be able to use it, and not get our approval, and then come back a year later and say, oh, I forgot this, or I should have got that. So we want to make sure that everything you get, you can use, and it's useful, and that we know what you're getting, and you know what you're getting. So, you know, a lot of times you don't think of these things till you come before the board. And that's, you know, that's, by us asking questions, it's now.
Right. That's certainly part of the process, you know. It's
all part
definitely
of the
helpful
learning
on
process,
multiple
because
aspects.
This is a lot of change to this area, so, you know, it's complicated. It's not that easy to just do what you're doing to this building, so. And there's a lot of work to it. So we want to make sure that it gets done right, and you guys get what you need, all right?
Okay.
So, yeah, we need an extension? or-
We do need an extension.
Okay.
Council, if you could please just email me an extension through, I'd say, mid-May or,
Yeah,
What-
the end of May.
whatever
The end of May.
The end of
or through May 3rd, at very minimum, yeah.
So your notice for this evening was fine for content and time, so no further notice is necessary. We'll be here May 3rd, 7:30, still in person, as
Yes.
far as we
Yes.
know.
Let's hope COVID doesn't again.
Don't change.
So to confirm, we don't have to reissue a notice.
No further
No,
notice is
no,
necessary.
no further notice.
We just need
So,
the extension.
from the board members, we need a motion and a second to carry the
Yes, do I hear a motion to carry this application to May 3rd?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in, aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
No, we're ending. We don't have that, we don't have our.
We do not
yearly-
have the annual
Okay.
report, no.
Annual report is gonna be done next week, or next time? Next
It'll
time,
be,
right?
it'll be next time,
Okay.
yes.
And what do we have coming next time?
44th Plainfield.
Oh, lovely, okay.
I need to,
Thank you,
sign that
everyone.
application for you that I.
Thank you.
Nice
Oh,
seeing you
okay.
again.
I'll send it to you.
So do I hear a motion, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, second? One of those are seconds. We're adjourned. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. All right. Thank you, guys.